deal I do expect to happen. And again, it comes back to what we said at the start of the section. Real Madrid and Rodri, if they get Elliot Anderson in, could the time be right to cash in on Rodri, who clearly hasn't been the same player since returning from injury as he was before?
Crook here, I've got some breaking news. I've heard from my sources at Aston Villa that Morgan Rogers is staying. Is that correct, mate?
we shall see, Gabby. Listen.
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan van range. Scoring a winning hat-trick of performance, payload and price. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
1 minute past 10. Good morning. Here are your sports headlines. I'm Will Hobbs, and after a dismal start, somehow England find themselves on top going into a crucial morning session with New Zealand at Lords. And we're told Ollie Robinson's miraculous comeback performance proves he should have gone to Australia over the winter.
I think being captain of Sussex this year, giving him more responsibility, has definitely helped him. I think that's been a huge help for him. But look, he's got himself sorted out, and hopefully now this can be a start of a period where he stays in the England team.
That's Robinson's coach at Sussex and his stepdad, Paul Farbrace. The bowler took 3 wickets in his first over back after being left out the side over fitness and commitment issues. New Zealand resume on 61 for 6, 79 runs behind England on day 2 of the first test. Arsenal's Premier League winners Declan Rice, Gabriel and David Raya are all shortlisted for the PFA Men's Player of the Year award. Bruno Fernandes, Ryan Cherki and Erling Haaland are also nominated. Despite missing out on the playoff final following Spygate, Southampton have made loanee goalkeeper Daniel Peretz a permanent signing for £7 million from Bayern Munich as he chases his Premier League dream. Peretz says the way Saints stayed together during Spygate was what persuaded him. And former England winger Joe Coles told us Thomas Tuchel's World Cup plan to cede possession and try to hit teams on the break in the heat is a gamble, but building the team around Harry Kane could work.
Say, for instance, Real Madrid tried to do it with Kylian Mbappe. Kylian Mbappe isn't as consistent as Harry Kane. He scores goals like Harry Kane, but he isn't as consistent. So if you're going to build a team around anyone, there ain't many players in Europe that you can do. So I think that's smart.
England's first World Cup warm-up game is against New Zealand, and it's live on talkSPORT tomorrow night.
talkSPORT News.
The former Prince Andrew charged his staff rent to live at his royal estate despite not paying rent himself. And how much will punters be paying for strawberries and cream at Wimbledon this year? Find out more with Amelia at 5:30.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Spring forwards with Bridgestone Turanza all-season 6 tyres with a 25,000 mileage guarantee. Book today at quickfit.com. Conditions apply.
Mostly dry with sunny spells, but showers expected to develop across the southwest as they continue in Scotland and Northern Ireland.
Hello, I'm Matt Forden from talkSPORT. This is how to win the World Cup.
This is the best squad I think England have ever had.
He used to love America, now he doesn't. It's very sad.
It was so important to succeed because of all the pressure we received.
Don't jump for this one, I'm going to knock his head off.
Warning, this podcast does not guarantee England will actually win anything.
Hello, very good morning to you. It's Sam Matterface, Alex Crook and the former West Ham United striker Dean Ashton joining us on the programme this morning. So Andoni Iraola has officially taken the reins at Anfield, filling Arne Slot's shoes. Is Liverpool's relentless search for the new Jurgen Klopp a masterstroke or a mistake? Meanwhile, Khaldoon Al-Mubarak breaks his silence in a post-season message to Manchester City supporters. In a post-Pep world, can the City juggernaut maintain its dominance? Plus, what does Crystal Palace outnumbering Real Madrid at the World Cup say about the Premier League might? We discussed if Manchester United's focus on Premier League trusted talent is the key to their success. And we're on the ground here in Florida. We're in West Palm Beach, Miami, ahead of England's warm-up game, ahead of the World Cup starting in just over a week's time. Here in the United States of America. It's Sam Matterface, Alex Crook and Dean Ashton, and we're live on talkSPORT. And a very good morning to you wherever you are, whatever you're doing this morning. Welcome to West Palm Beach in Florida. I'm sitting here getting ready for the England friendlies, which start tomorrow. They play New Zealand live on talkSPORT and then Costa Rica on Wednesday. Crookie's back in an air-conditioned studio with a packed lunch all ready to go. And Dean Ashton is alongside him. Morning, boys. You okay?
We're good. Our artwork's not quite as good as those paintings behind you, though.
I'm not surprised. Do you know what? I actually tried to find out exactly what it was all about, but I got lost halfway through.
I think there's a paint spillage. That one over your right shoulder.
And I expected nothing. It looks like I expected nothing less as well. By the way, what an introduction! Walking along the corridor, bringing it into your seat. The professionalism.
It's lovely to see you both, to hear from you both. You feel like a home comfort. I've only been here a couple of days. Actually, do you know what? There's a lot of talk about what happens when you get into the country and how it's going to feel for everybody when they arrive at the World Cup. We couldn't have had a better welcome. We walked off the plane into the passport control lounge. There was about 5 different cubicles open. Walked in, showed a passport. What are you doing? World Cup? Yeah, fantastic. Come on in, lads. Crack on. Literally there for 1 second. It was brilliant. The traffic, that's a different matter. And we did have a bit of an incident where our producer, Ollie, who is well known to people at talkSPORT and looks after our Sunday show, decided that he would pick up some random's bag on the baggage reclaim, which was slightly annoying for him, but not as annoying for the guy whose bag he picked up, who was going on a cruise the next day and was having a right panic that he wasn't going to get it before the cruise departed.
Was there a goldfish in the bag? Police Academy 5, wasn't it, where that happened over in Miami? Great film.
That's a reference that has gone way over my head.
Great
I'm sorry.
Film. Great
Can't
film.
get on board with that. Right, okay, let's talk a little bit about what happened yesterday, because Andoni Iraola has been named as the new Liverpool manager overnight. Finished just a little bit below Liverpool in the table with Bournemouth, but he was in charge of Bournemouth. What a fantastic job he did, especially towards the end of the season. Dean, what has Iraola got that Slot didn't have? Slot delivered a title a year ago. He's gone anyway, so the bar isn't trophies. Is it something different that Slot has stopped giving them? What is it?
I think it's a style of play. I think it's Liverpool's identity. I think you can't underestimate, how important supporters feel about the way their club play and what they want to see from their team. And more than ever, managers are almost judged on their style of football, almost up there with the results. I think there is pressure to win and win in style. And I think that to me, the appointment is all about the style of Iraola and the way that his Bournemouth side play.
There's a fine line, though, isn't there? Because no Liverpool fan was complaining about the style of play when they won the Premier League. Was it vastly different first season to second? The results were obviously vastly different, but they weren't that attractive on the eye when they won the title.
Liverpool supporters I know that were complaining towards the back end of that season, even though they won it comfortably. There was murmurs then that, well, we haven't exactly played terrific football as such. And the problem is you're comparing it to Klopp.
Yeah.
And that style was just so thrilling to watch constantly. If you even for a neutral, it was incredible. I think that's where the difference is.
Do you think that it was quite interesting reading Jamie Carragher yesterday in the Telegraph when he said, the idea of sort of profiling future Liverpool managers with the sort of measuring up to the populist idea of heavy metal football was dangerous, because to reduce Klopp's sort of impact on the team to just sort of world-class, high-pressing, aggressive, front-footed football diminishes the fact that he was actually a world-class leader. It was a man that you wanted to represent. It was a man you wanted to go to the well for. The personality of Iraola is not at all similar to Jurgen Klopp. So in terms of football, he may well be very similar in terms of what he wants to produce. But sometimes the feel and the influence that you have on a dressing room comes from a very different part of your skill set, Crook.
Yeah, and I think that's also doing a little bit of a disservice to Arne Slot, because you look at the way that he conducted himself. We always found him a pleasure to interview. Wasn't always the case when Jurgen Klopp was there, and history's being rewritten a little bit with Mo Salah and his statement basically yearning for a return to the Jurgen Klopp days. They weren't on great terms when Jurgen Klopp left the football club, but that seems to have been airbrushed. And you look at the way that Slot conducted himself in the aftermath of the tragic passing of Diogo Jota. I thought he was the perfect statesperson for Liverpool at that time. So I think that's a little bit unfair from Jamie Carragher. But you're right, regards Andoni Iraola, he isn't the same personality as Jurgen Klopp. He's quite a shy, unassuming, humble guy. So they might get the football, but they're not necessarily going to get the leader. There is a danger, I think, as well, and Leeds had this for a long time with Marcelo Bielsa. If you just live in the past and you're yearning for a return to a former hero, United have arguably done it with Sir Alex Ferguson. I'm not sure that's a great recipe for success.
No, and also,
but if you're in the dressing room, Dean, you do follow people, don't you? You need to have someone who instigates you, someone that brings more out of you than you could get out of yourself. Is Iraola that man for this Liverpool squad?
Well, that's what we will find out, because he's even said it himself. He's looking forward to working with top elite level talent.
It's a different.
But with
model.
that comes huge egos, players that want to play. You've already seen the way Salah conducted himself this season and under Jurgen Klopp.
Well, they've got rid of one of the biggest egos.
Well, they have, but there'll be the next one on the conveyor belt. That is what you get with these, these massive clubs that want success, and players are the same. Isak's gone there because he wants to play regularly, not be second fiddle to Ekitike, for example. He's going to have to manage those players, and that's the biggest question. It's not, is his style terrific to watch? Absolutely. I thought Bournemouth were incredible to watch, but this is a level where he has not ever had before, where the expectation every single game is to perform and to be successful. It's whether he can handle that and not show the weakness to the players if he is feeling that pressure.
Sam, I know you did a lot of preparation.
And also he has had problems at some stages when the glare of the spotlight has come on top of him, and he's become very sort of agitated in post-match interviews, in press conferences pre-match. I remember going back a couple of years when he was linked with a move to Real Madrid, and Bournemouth fell off a cliff after that because he seemed to be sort of wavered by what happened with the attention that came his way when the big boys came calling. So he's got to almost mature himself. Let's a couple of years down the line, maybe he would be able to handle it a little bit better this time around. But if Liverpool had any reservations, I would imagine that would be one of them. Bournemouth finished 6th last season, 1 position and 3 points behind Liverpool in the league. They qualified for next season's Europa League. What represents success for Andoni Iraola this time around, Crook?
It's a brilliant question. Winning the title, I guess, would be the aspiration, because Arne Slot achieved that in his first season. Jurgen Klopp won it as well. So I think that there'll be the high standards that he'll be asked to try and achieve. Obviously, but the bare minimum is Champions League football. And in fairness, Arne Slot did achieve that, but they can't afford to lose the number of games that they did last season. Actually, if you go back to the start of his tenure at Bournemouth, what was it? No wins in 9. A few people were suggesting maybe Bournemouth had made a mistake. In fairness, the hierarchy there never felt that. They saw what he was doing day in, day out in training. They looked at the data. They knew results would improve, and they did. He can't go 9 games at Liverpool without winning, because straight away the pressure is going to be on him from that expectant Anfield crowd. And it's really interesting when you look at Iraola's career as a manager in general. I know you did this, Sam, when he first came in. He's built his reputation on achieving unexpected results against the bigger clubs, giving bigger opponents bloody nose. He did it this season. He won at Arsenal. Obviously got a good result against Manchester City towards the end of the season. Unlucky not to win that night. Regularly beat Manchester United. Did well against Liverpool as well. But all of a sudden, from going that to being that minnow manager who's trying to land a punch or two on the big guns, he's going to be the one to be punched at. So it's a different mindset.
Yeah, and he also said actually during his interview yesterday that actually one of the things that he's really excited about taking over Liverpool was managing bigger players, more talented players. It's a big, massive club, one of the biggest in the world. He said, you don't need a lot of things to get attracted by Liverpool. But I think at Liverpool, it gives you the chance to coach top players, and top players give you the chance to fight for titles, to win titles. Is that him leaning into Liverpool's history and showing that he understands what it's like to be a Liverpool manager, what it's going to take for him to be a Liverpool manager? And how do you think those top players will respond to his very demanding methods, Dean? Because you've been in a dressing room. This is a coach who's making a step up from a mid-table team to a top-level team. The first 2 or 3 sessions that he takes are going to be all important if he wants to get them on side with his brand of football.
Yeah, I mean, we are massively judgmental as players, and you're right. Those first few weeks as a new manager, all eyes are on you from the players. We're talking about you constantly in the dressing room after each session. You're getting a feeling of whether he immediately likes you or not. It's all of those things that he'll have to balance. But what I would say is, if the players are on board with his way of thinking, the style of football that he wants to play, understanding as a player what he demands of you, and if you enjoy that and like the look of that, already you would get them on side. And I think he will, because I think they'll enjoy what he will want Liverpool to look like. I think those players, especially attacking players, will enjoy that style. It's about managing players when they're not in the 11, because every single player in the squad thinks they're a top player and expects to play. So it'll be managing those top players, but I don't think it's going to take that much to have a fantastic squad. And in his mind, he'll think, well, if I can do this with, Bournemouth players and the level of Bournemouth players, in his mind, he'd be thinking, imagine what I can do with Isak, Ekitike, Wirtz, Frimpong, these players, Szoboszlai, he'll be thinking in his mind, he can picture how that's going to look, Crook.
Yeah, be fascinating. The mid-table to elite leap has been a graveyard in recent years, though. Potter going to Chelsea, Moyes to United, Nuno going to Spurs, Hodgson at Liverpool, Thomas Frank going to Spurs. Is there more confidence about Iraola avoiding that same trap? 03717 2233 44. We want your Liverpool calls after this. Liverpool fans, you feeling confident this morning that Iraola will get you back to the top of the game, performing and playing the football that you want to see? 03717 2233 44 810 89. Or is it a bit of a gamble, but maybe a gamble you can get on board with? Let us know what you think. And later, we wonder whether or not the World Cup is the best shop window in football or the worst. Stay with us. This is talkSPORT with Sam Matterface, Alex Crook and Dean Ashton with Selco Builders Warehouse. Check out this month's Real Deal at selcobw.com.
Let's talk about the World Cup then in a bit more detail. England, of course, touched down in America ahead of the competition. Let me get your views on the squad. Lots of players that a lot of people should have been in it weren't. Cole Palmer, Phil Foden, Gibbs White, Adam Wharton, Trent, of course, Harry Maguire being another one. What have you made of the squad and the players that aren't going?
All of them players are the real technicians. Adam Wharton, Foden, Cole Palmer,
Trent.
And Trent. So my opinion personally is the majority of them players should have gone, because I think that holding the ball in a World Cup is the most crucial thing, and being that team. But Thomas has gone the other way. Thomas, you can see he's picked by the team he's picked. It's going to be a sort of low to mid block, and he's going to look for counter-attacking football, right? So personally, I would have done it differently, but I like the fact that he's picked the type of.
Hello, I'm Matt Fordham from talkSPORT. This is How to Win the World Cup.
This is the best squad I think England have ever had.
He used to love America, now he doesn't. It's very sad.
It was so important to succeed because of all the pressure we received.
Don't jump for this one, I'm going to knock his head off.
Warning, this podcast does not guarantee England will actually win anything.
Good morning to you wherever you are in the world. This is Sam Matterface. I'm live in West Palm Beach in Florida ahead of England's big pre-tournament friendlies. New Zealand tomorrow, live on talkSPORT, 4 o'clock local. Kicks off at 9 o'clock your time. And then on Wednesday night, they test themselves against Costa Rica. I did hear yesterday they're also going to have a game against 4th tier Miami United. Not really a game, just a training session to work on set pieces. We'll get into that a little bit later on today. 03717 2233 is the number to call if you want to talk a little bit about Liverpool this morning, who have appointed Andoni Iraola. Crook, does not being the immediate successor after Jurgen Klopp give Iraola a little bit of wiggle room that maybe Slot never had, really? Slot had to follow a legend. He then built a title-winning side. He had to keep it ticking and then had to follow that achievement up. He set the bar very high in the first season. Iraola sort of following the man who won it and got sacked anyway. Is there a strange sort of kind of freedom because everybody's going to have to buy into the fact this is a slightly longer term project?
I think so. And I said at the time when we reported on Slot's dismissal over the weekend that actually if you flipped his seasons around and he finished 5th in the first season after replacing Jurgen Klopp, as you say, a Liverpool legend, and then won the title, we'd be having a very different conversation. But I think he almost set the bar too high for himself by coming straight in and winning that championship. And you have to remember, in the Premier League era, Liverpool haven't won too many titles. But in terms of Iraola, yes, I think he'll get a certain amount of freedom from the fans because of the style of football. They're going to be fun to watch. You know that. It's going to be high pressing, high octane, high risk. You know, he's someone who encourages his players to take risks, and the Liverpool fans will relate to that.
He asked for a short-term contract at Liverpool. That's either supreme confidence or a man who's sort of reading the room. I know that he's done this over the course of his career so far, Dean, but were you surprised by that?
I guess so, but like you say, maybe it's just backing himself that it's not going to take 5 or 6 years to get his ideas across and be successful. And I don't think in the modern game there is longevity as such that's guaranteed for any manager. I think more than ever, even in the season just gone, Liverpool supporters showed that they were not happy with the style of football. I was at Anfield a good few times to feel that against the manager in the stadium. It wasn't quite the atmosphere sort of come to be accustomed to, and there was moans and groans, especially certain substitutions when Engamoa maybe didn't get on at times. I know it was a big talking point, but also the style when the ball inevitably went backwards to the centre-backs and they played between each other and it was slow and ponderous. They weren't happy with that. So, like I said, in today's society, people expect there's so much content and stats and opinion about that. Liverpool supporters have their own opinions on it and will voice those.
Dave is a Liverpool fan voicing his opinion. He says Iraola is no small club nobody. 500 plus games for Athletic Club Bilbao. understands provincial club unity and mentality. He's got caps for Spain during the glory years, understands big players by experience, exciting opportunity and a chance for Liverpool to go back to the road of creating stars, not just buying them. That's something that was in their DNA for many years. Pressure on Hughes and Edwards to deliver the right players for him, says Dave. Craig, morning, gents. They'll be lucky to finish in the top 6. He'll have a season's grace, but I do wish him good luck. Will is on the line now. Hi, Will.
Morning. How you doing?
Very good, thank you. What do you want to say to Dean Ashton and Alex Crook? Let's go.
Right, I'm mega excited actually about Iriola. He's a young manager. Obviously, he showed what he can do in the Premiership. It is a bit of a risk. There is that involved, but I'm not one of these Liverpool fans that I expect us to win everything every season. I'm a realist. As long as we're playing good football, as long as the proper Liverpool fans get behind him, if we do finish 6th next season, we finish 6th. But you just want to see an improvement in the way we play. And he was unlucky. There was a lot of things went against him. An awful lot of things went against him. When he came in, I remember watching his Feyenoord team, and they played really exciting football. I know it's a different league, but I just think he was unlucky. He had to go, but he was just unlucky. So.
How do you think he'll be viewed long-term, Will? Because obviously it's painful on the back of a season when you've lost so many games, when the football's not been that pleasing on the eye. But as I've referenced a couple of times, Liverpool have not regularly won Premier League titles. The fact that he did manage to deliver one, surely in a couple of years' time, he might be more appreciated.
I appreciate him. I don't care what any other Liverpool fan thinks, to be honest. I appreciate what he did for the club. He came in. The Jota thing, I know it's spoke about a lot, but, it's a huge thing. I mean, Konate coming out yesterday with the things he had to say, and then all the injuries, blah, blah, blah. I'm not whinging about that. He took it on the chin, and he got on with it, Yeah, he might have had the odd moan here and there about injuries himself, but, that's the truth. That's what actually happened. So he was just unlucky. He got us 5th. He got us in the Champions League.
Will, can I just touch on a point you made about when you said proper Liverpool supporters? Are you sort of saying that you're disappointed maybe in how he was treated in the stadium, as I've just talked about, that kind of atmosphere against the manager? And will Iriola be treated the same way in terms of they will judge massively with what they see on the pitch?
Unfortunately, I think it's just part of the day-to-day life now, social media and all that. People, keyboard warriors, they like to come on and have their say. But at the end of the day, if you're a proper football fan, if you understand football and how it works, at the end of the day, every Liverpool fan has got to get behind him. It's no good. If he does lose the first 9 games, there's no point whining and moaning. You've got to get behind him.
I don't think there's much chance that there won't be whining and moaning if he loses the first 9 games, I'm afraid. Will, doesn't matter how patient you are, you don't get away with losing 9 games in a row at Liverpool. But I get the sentiment. Thank you very much. That's Will. Let's get to Marco. And just to reference what Will was saying, the former Liverpool defender Ibrahima Konate yesterday talking about the struggles that he had with mental illness after the passing of Diogo Jota. He lost his father last year as well. And he said that, over the course of his season, it's been incredibly affected by depression. And he's found it very, very difficult over the course of last year. And I don't think that you can underestimate that. We've said it a lot, that there is always going to be an impact of the passing of Diogo Jota, and we won't see it, and it will manifest itself at different times over the course of the campaign. And I think whenever you're sort of judging the last year of Liverpool, you have to judge it with that lens in mind. And maybe Iriola coming in and a few players leaving and the dressing room changing, maybe it's almost like a fresh start this summer for Liverpool. Marco's on the line. Go on, Marco. Tell us what you want to say.
Morning, lads. How you doing?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Good stuff. So, listen, I've been a Liverpool fan for 30-odd years, and I think last season was difficult for a number of reasons, like what you've just touched on. But I think the most telling thing for me was how we were losing games. We were getting outworked, outfought, and I think when you're there watching the game, you don't sense anything from the manager. I think that's one of the things that I feel that the crowd were really onslaught's back for. You didn't get a sense of any urgency. You didn't get a sense of any kind of even self-belief in him or the players on the bench. He persisted with some players that you just thought weren't good enough. And going back to the season he won the league, listen, I think Liverpool, we got lucky a wee bit. The Man City tripped up, Chelsea weren't there, Tottenham weren't there, Man U weren't there, Arsenal were just starting again. Like we've seen this season, they've managed to follow on. So, yeah, I don't think it was as impressive as we thought maybe at the time. And then to spend what he spent and to deliver what he's delivered this year, given the issues, I completely understand. And as you said, a lot of the stuff we don't see. I think Andy Robertson and Konate have came out and explained a little bit of what went on behind the scenes. But I still think it's down to the manager to either be honest. I don't know if he could have been honest with the fans, but get the fans on side. And
that was certainly a major problem, wasn't it? The failure to get the fans on board towards the middle and then the end of the season. Klopp's football progressed over time at Anfield. Yes, it started with a heavy metal brand that he was known for, but to counter Pep, it did evolve. It did get closer to the possession-based football that everybody else was getting into. I think Iraola will prove over time to be totally up to the job, says Keen on the text 81089. If you want to get in touch, you can get involved 0371722 3344. From one summer of change then to another. How set fair are Manchester City for life after Pep Guardiola? We'll assess that next on talkSPORT with Sam Matterface, Alex Crook and Dean Ashton. We're here with Selco Builders Warehouse. Check out this month's real deals at selcobw.com.
Big John Fisher's never far away from our phone screens with countless laughs. Absolutely hilarious, some of the stuff and Chinese orders. But now he's even broken a record.
Go.
Egg fried rice, chicken fried rice, pork fried rice, special fried rice, Singapore fried rice, Singapore rice noodle, plain chow mein, chicken chow mein, pork chow mein, beef chow mein, chicken balls, prawn balls, pork balls, sweet and sour chicken, sweet and sour pork Hong Kong style, sweet and sour prawn, beef in black bean, chicken in black bean, pork in black bean, roast duck Chinese style, roast pork Chinese style, chicken Chinese style, crispy aromatic duck, seaweed, sesame prawn on toast, spicy pork, mixed hors d'oeuvres, chicken and sweet corn soup, chicken noodle soup, hot and sour soup, prawn crackers, chips, salt and chili chicken balls, salt and chili pork.
Wow. 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 In your attempt today, you achieved 40 menu items in 30 seconds.
It's a solid record. You talk about my life being...
The Premier League's profit and sustainability rules are sold to us as financial fair play, a way to keep clubs from going bust. But there are those who feel it's starting to look a lot like a system that protects the big boys and keeps the rest in their lane. Here's how it works and why people feel that way. So clubs can only lose 105 million quid over 3 years, which sounds fair, but here's the kicker. Your limit includes how much you earn. So if you're one of the traditional top 6, you've got massive global revenue streams and you can spend way more while still technically following the rules. Meanwhile, ambitious clubs like Newcastle, Villa or Forest, well, they're bringing a knife to a gunfight. Newcastle might be backed by Saudi billions, but they just can't splurge the cash. Their commercial income isn't there yet. Last season, they won their first domestic trophy since 1955 and qualified for the Champions League, which you'd think would be a great springboard for them to go on and start building a team to challenge at the very top. But because of PSR restraints, they couldn't break their wage structure for a new Alexander Isak contract, and look what happened there. So what's the solution? Well, either loosen the reins so ambitious clubs can spend within their means, or cap spending based on something other than revenue. Otherwise, we're just watching the same 6 teams swapping silverware most seasons, and that, folks, ain't what the Premier League was built on.
You know what's fascinating, listening to Amelia in the news there saying that the pints have gone up at Wimbledon this year and you have to play a bucket load for strawberries and cream. Yesterday we played $29 for 1 pint and 1 bottle of beer. Outrageous. Luckily, we found a nice Irish bar, O'Shea's in West Palm Beach, where there was happy hour, and it was a little bit cheaper later on in the day. The Big Six have all changed manager this summer, and Manchester City, the latest to do so, with Pep Guardiola leaving as well. Khaldoon Al-Mubarak, the chairman of Manchester City, has been doing his usual end-of-year review, and he's been communicating his thoughts to the Manchester City supporters. This is what he said about Pep Guardiola.
Inevitably, over these last 10 years, we've had a lot of ups and some downs. And in the downs, he must have quit 100 times over these 10 years, just so you know, just for the record. There's the story, as you all know, the boy that cries wolf. In the case of Pep, I mean, when he says I quit, doesn't mean he's quitting. It doesn't mean you don't take it that seriously. You have to manage him. He never thought he would stay more than 4 years, and more than 5 years. So in his mind, even year 4 or 5, it was always, okay, how much more time? How much more time? And you know, it was always, it had to be done in the correct way. And I would say I always had a very clear understanding with Pep, because of that analogy of the boy that cried wolf. Whenever he quits or whenever he thinks it's time, I will always convince him to come back, until the time where I know it's actually the real time, where it's actually the real moment that Pep decides actually it's time.
I mean, that's quite fascinating, really, isn't it, when you consider that he says that Pep was the boy that cried wolf? Does it sort of mean that we've underestimated just how important it has been to try and manage Pep Guardiola? If he threatened to quit over 100 times, is managing Guardiola, does Al-Mubarak and the team that are above Pep in the food chain actually deserve some credit for a masterclass in emotional intelligence? Or is this them sort of claiming a little bit of credit for his longevity? Crook?
I think probably a combination of both. He obviously is very demanding on himself, demanding on his players, and obviously demanding of those above him as well, to make sure that he's got the best possible tools to work with. But I think he's right in what he said there. I don't think any of us expected, when you look at his previous career history, that he would be there for a decade. And, you talk about Andoni Iraola being the successor to the successor for a club legend. I think it's going to be a very stiff task for Enzo Maresca, even though he's a winner himself with that World Club Cup and the Conference League trophy as well, to go in and try and fill the shoes of Pep Guardiola. And that's before you even get onto the fact that there's a lot of rebuilding still to be done in that squad. Bernardo Silva, John Stones, two modern-day legends of Manchester City, both bowing out with their manager. Kevin De Bruyne obviously left the club a year ago. Rodri could well depart for Real Madrid. We think Elliot Anderson would be his replacement if that does happen. So, yeah, I think it's a massive job for Enzo Maresca.
Guardiola leaves 17 Meiji trophies in the trophy cabinet, included 6 Premier League titles, a Champions League, and an inordinate number of League Cups as well. But the chairman says, don't worry, they're still winning without him.
I think top down. Sheikh Mansour, myself, Ferran, and then the whole organization. We have a team. And that team is a winning team. And that team will continue. And there will be players, and there will be coaches, and there will be executives. It's part of life. But we will keep going. And we will continue to deliver.
Is the infrastructure genuinely manager-proof? Soriano stays at CEO. Viana obviously has been there now for 18 months, nearly 2 years as director of football. Khaldoon staying in charge of the day-to-day operation of the club. The argument is it's the machine that will win regardless. Maresca inheriting the squad and the ecosystem. Do you think that it will be a seamless transition, Dino?
I think that Manchester City supporters should definitely have probably even more confidence than they even have, that the club now is so well run, and whoever comes in as manager is going to be backed. I think there's teams behind the scenes, and Pep Guardiola has been the benefactor of that. Whenever he might have quit, they might have just gone, oh, by the way, there's these 2 players that we can bring in for 100 million just to sort of help the team. They've backed him the whole way, and they'll back the next manager or the next managers that come in. But what you can't legislate for is a genius, somebody that's totally changed the face of English football. The Premier League looks like a Pep Guardiola league. It does. Teams now play in a way that has tried to either copy Pep or combat Pep in a similar way. The way we look at goalkeepers, fullbacks, midfield players, that is all him. He's had that bigger influence on English football and Manchester City. How do you replace that sort of character? It's so difficult because they just don't come along very often. And to then have the success that he's had as well, again, such a difficult role to take on. I do think that Maresca has the personality for it, though.
Hence, maybe why they've gone for Pep Light, in the fact that he was his former assistant. He knows exactly the type of football that the Manchester City players want to play, and that the club is known for playing. And he was a big part of their success. He's worked at the club before, and he knows everybody that's there. But there is a cautionary tale here, isn't it? Manchester United haven't won the league since Sir Alex Ferguson left in 2013. Do you think, Crook, that City have the structure to dodge any sort of fallow period, or does the dynasty pay the bill eventually?
You had to bring that up, didn't you? The Ferguson stat. Manchester City haven't won the league for the last 2 years. Pep Guardiola's bowed out on the back of not winning the title for the last 2 seasons. So I think when you look at the strength of Arsenal, they're going to go again. I make them favourites to sign Morgan Rogers from Aston Villa. I think it's going to be difficult.
Are you saying that's a weakness shown from Pep then?
I think he would have preferred to bow out with the Premier League winners' medal around his neck, for sure. But not many people get the opportunity to choose the perfect exit point. Ferguson did it on the back of winning that title thanks to the goals of Robin van Persie. I think we probably would have seen Pep quit a year ago had they have not finished, behind Liverpool in the race for the title. And I think at one stage this season, it looked like they were going to win the title. Could have been a treble. That would have been the perfect way to go. But obviously it didn't quite work out in that fashion.
Do you know what's so funny? You tried to have a little pop at me because I mentioned Manchester United's lack of title success just because it was a fact. But you didn't shy away from reminding Liverpool fans earlier on that they weren't regular title winners in the Premier League.
They've won more than Leicester now.
They've
won more Premier League titles than Leicester and Blackburn now.
We let it go. You should maybe too. Talking of Manchester United, shall we move on to them? Because last year they landed Seshko, Senna Lomans, Matthias Cunha, and Mbeumo. I think they were all hits. What about the next ones that come through the door? Will they be just as good? We'll discuss it next. This is Sam Matterface, Alex Crook, and Dean Ashton. We're here through till 1, live on talkSPORT.
Listen, Gab,
Yes.
Elliot Anderson, brilliant season. I mean, fantastic player. I think the proof in the pudding, the fact that he's an automatic choice in that England team, Thomas Tuchel's England team. What's he worth? Are we getting crazy? He's not worth 100 million, is he?
No, do you know what, Ali? Probably like a couple of months ago, I was like, maybe that's a bit much. But when you look at his whole season, played every game in the Premier League, Ali, 38 appearances, 4 goals, 4 assists.
Yeah.
And people might look at those stats and say, okay, that's okay. But this is a defensive midfielder, more or less, at Forest. Yes, he had the licence to get forward, but he wasn't playing number 10 like Gibbs White was. He can do everything, Ali. Win the ball back as a number 6. He can play further forward as an 8 as well. You could play him off the wing if you wanted to, Ali, and he'd have a good game. He's got everything, can score goals, can pass the ball, can get the ball back. He's got legs. 23 years of age as well. Koisty, it's a great age as well. I think it's a no-brainer, 100 million. With inflation as well, from Declan Rice when he went to Arsenal, I think that's a fair price.
Okay, mate. Well, if that deal gets done, it very much looks as though it possibly could in the immediate future. One that won't happen in the immediate future, but it looks as though it's a natural process, and that could be the departure, Gabby, of a...
Get ready to get the ultimate football fan winning feeling with talkSPORT Win. Because this summer, you and a mate could be jetting off to watch England versus Panama in New Jersey live at the FIFA World Cup 2026 with Adidas, including tickets, flights, accommodation and more. Go to talksport.com/win to enter now, and you could be soaking up the incredible atmosphere at the FIFA World Cup 2026. For the chance to win every football fan's trip of a lifetime, enter now at talksport.com/win.
It's talkSPORT. It's Sam Matterface. Yeah, and we're already in Florida in camp, ready for England against New Zealand tomorrow night live on talkSPORT at 9 o'clock. We're on air at 8 o'clock your time. Interesting. I think Thomas Tuchel is going to speak to the media a little bit later on today, quite late actually at your time. So it's, what time is it now? 5:50 a.m. here. It's just coming up to 10 minutes to 11 back in the UK. It was fascinating to hear from Dave on the text, Crook. He said, we have a sweepstake at work every Friday now to see just how long it takes for Alex Crook to turn the conversation on a Friday to Manchester United. Well done, Joe. Had 44 minutes. Excellent. We like it.
I think it was you who brought up the fact that United hadn't won a title in the post-Alex Ferguson era. So I'm not guilty on this one, Dave.
Not guilty, maybe not. Let's see. Manchester United did land Benjamin Šeško last year, Sonny Lomondson and Burmo and Cunha. Two of those had played in the Premier League already. And I wonder whether or not that's proven that targeting Premier League proven talent is the fastest route to transfer success. Here is Omar Barada talking to Inside Carrington and telling Manchester United fans whether or not that strategy is going to hold this summer as well.
I think the template for what we did last summer will be replicated in many ways. You always go into a window, you don't know how you're going to come out of it, but you have to be really prepared. You have to have a clear plan. You have to know exactly what positions you're looking to straighten, and you also have to be prepared for any eventuality. There could be exits that we're not expecting. There could be opportunities in the market that perhaps weren't there at the beginning of the window. So we have to be ready and we have to be agile and flexible. But we have a clear plan. Jason Wilcox and his team are very well set up to execute that plan. And I do think that what we saw last season is a good way forward for us, which is we want a mix of experience and youth. We want a mix of players that have demonstrated they can perform in the Premier League, and perhaps also with players that are doing very well outside the Premier League. But we will always do it within our terms and ensuring that whatever decision we take is not just for the short term, but also for the long term.
Manchester United have been criticised for their recruitment strategy for a long time, actually. But last year, largely, I think everybody accepts that they got it right. You mentioned there about looking outside the Premier League, but that is not something that they have done too often. Do you think they're over-reliant on Premier League talent? And it is a little bit more expensive if you're trying to acquire top-tier talent from this particular league. Is that potentially a pitfall they could end up falling into, Crook?
Potentially, although I think I'd go the other way to you and suggest they've had a lot more success from buying within the Premier League in the last decade or so than when they've taken a risk on expensive foreign signings. Exhibit A, Joshua Zirkzee. Exhibit B, Manuel Ugarte. Exhibit C, Andre Onana. The list goes on, really. So I think as a United fan, which clearly Dave has outed me as, I would rather they recruit within the Premier League. But
I don't think it was Dave.
But you're right about the price tags. I mean, look at West Ham touting £80 million for Mateus Fernandes, a player who has got a lot of talent, but he's been relegated in back-to-back seasons. Nobody's going to pay £80 million for a player from the Championship. So I think,
should Manchester United be looking at Mateus Fernandes for 80 million quid, or should they actually be spreading their net a little bit wider and looking for a similar sort of player and actually getting Mateus Fernandes before he becomes West Ham's Mateus Fernandes, if you know what I mean?
Yes, that has been a problem. You know, they had the opportunity to sign Moises Caicedo for a pittance before he went to Brighton. They didn't do that deal. I think, in fairness, because there were a lot of different agents all trying to claim a slice of the pie, but he goes to Brighton and all of a sudden he becomes a £105 million footballer. So, yes, I think they have got to spot talent early, and in fairness, that is one thing that Jason Wilcox appears to be good at. So I'd imagine you are going to see that investment in youth. They did it with the left back, didn't they? From the young left back they've got, who hasn't really played
Diego
Leon. And I know they've got great expectations for him. So I think you'll see that mix this season between the proven Premier League players, the signings from overseas. We've seen that with Ederson already, and Kev Hatchard, who's watched a lot of him for Atalanta, tells me he's going to be a really good signing for Manchester United, hopefully a lot better than Ugarte was. But I still think they'll recruit from within, and I still see a Carlos Baleba type signing between now and the end of the window.
Yeah, Newcastle's Lewis Hall has also been linked with Manchester United as well. Are they going to continue to build around Bruno Fernandes, though? Because later in his interview, actually, Omar Barada sort of outlined the fact that Bruno Fernandes was the captain, wanted him to stay. He said, we've got a fantastic captain, absolutely fantastic. We'd like him to stay. Of course we do. He's had a great season on the pitch. And more importantly, I think he's shown everybody his commitment to the club. People don't see what he does on the outside of the pitch. He deserves a lot of credit. Dino, is Bruno Fernandes once again likely to be key to any success that Manchester United have, or is there lingering doubt over his future? Would you build the team around him, bearing in mind that he was so successful last season and obviously played with a great freedom?
You have to. He's of that level that you have to build the team around him, and he's. I think what they have to do is close the gap between the other players and him. So it's not just the Bruno Fernandes show. I think if you look at the great Manchester United teams of the past, it's not just been one superstar and then the rest kind of playing for that superstar. You know, the gap between the top player at Manchester United and the second and third and fourth was very, very narrow. Now it feels like it's quite wide, and you've got too many players, I think, looking at him to do more than he can actually achieve on his own. And when you talk about Premier League talent coming in, and probably a reason why that has been looked at for Manchester United in particular is the gulf in you know the athleticism of the Premier League compared to the other leagues, and it's only getting further away in terms of that high intensity in and out of possession now. And it's why I think players like Ugarte, Xerxes, I think physically cannot cope with.
Ugarte's not got the legs for the Premier League.
That's it. I mean, Casemiro had a great season, but look at him. He trimmed right down. I thought he looked super fit in terms of his physique and his capability to get around the pitch. And in the Premier League, you have to have that. And it's felt as if Manchester United are kind of catching that up really, and they have to keep doing that.
It was interesting also, Omar Barada giving credit to Ruben Amorim. He actually said deserves credit for many things. I was doing a podcast with Crook the other day, Dino, and he actually said his name. Unbelievable.
In a
Usually he
derogatory
refers
fashion.
to him as the Portuguese fella. What did you say?
In a derogatory fashion. Listen, Omar Barada is right. I think what
Don't get around it. You had a slip. You couldn't help but talk about him. Just be honest about it. You all of a sudden just forgot that you had this sort of agenda where you weren't going to mention his name, and it just came out.
Yeah, well, it won't be coming out again today.
03717 223344. A lot more discussion about this and anything else you want to talk about this morning. We'll talk about West Ham with Dean Ashton. We're going to talk about day 2 at Lord's upcoming as well. Fantastic day for Ollie Robinson yesterday. So much to get into. Your calls, reaction at the top of the hour next. 03717 223344 81089 on the text as well. It's Sam Matterface in Florida. 2 boys in London back in the studio. We're here through till 1.
On the Wednesday morning, I worked on talkSPORT.
Yep.
And I'd been ongoing trials and so many specialists, and decided that I needed a transplant. And I'm like, I didn't want to do it, but my kids and Jill said, you got to do it, you have to do it, you are doing it. And amazingly, on the Wednesday, I was doing radio. I'd gone through loads of appointments, loads of serious questions, and they decided, okay, we'll have a go at this, or else you're in trouble.
Yeah.
And on the Wednesday, I finished 9:45. I got a shout at 10 o'clock, you got to phone Addenbrooke's Hospital, and I did at 10. They said, get in right now, we've got something for you. And I jumped in a cab, went down to Cambridge, and at 2:30 that afternoon, mate, I was on the slab, and bang, and they opened me up and performed for, I think, something like 8 hours. They transplanted my liver, right? I had a tiny liver by all accounts, and they transplanted it. And I was there for 8 hours, and my heart did stop for a bit, and it came back on its own. So I'll be very frank, I'm very, very lucky.
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van Range. Commercial vehicles that go the distance for your business. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
Good morning, 11:01. Here are your sports headlines. What would success look like for Andoni Iraola in his first season?
Winning the title, I guess, would be the aspiration, because Arne Slot achieved that in his first season. Jurgen Klopp won it as well. Bare minimum is Champions League football, and in fairness, Arne Slot did achieve that, but they can't afford to lose the number of games that they did last season.
Alex Crook there, of course, who says Arne Slot almost set the bar too high for himself by winning the title straight away. From Anfield to Lords, Ollie Robinson was the star of the show on his 2-year return to the England side. 3 wickets in his first over, 4 for 10 overall, and his stepdad and Sussex coach Paul Farbrace says his expectations were blown out of the water.
I just hope that he got his first couple of overs somewhere near a decent line and length. If he got 1 wicket, then absolute bonus. But yeah, I mean, it was an incredible start for him. I did exchange a few messages with him last night. He was obviously delighted, but he knows that he's got a lot of hard work to do.
So despite being bowled out for 140, England are in a strong position, to seize control on day 2 with the ball. Watching for talkSPORT at Lords is Sam Ellard.
Yeah, despite being bowled out for 140, you're absolutely right, Will. Decent position. The Tourists closing late last night on 61 for 6, trailing England by 140 runs after a remarkable first 8. But with Glenn Phillips at the crease, they'll have confidence and hope they can get pretty close to England's 140. He's a big hitting batsman. He's got lots of white ball experience. He's unbeaten on 33. Nathan Smith is 6 not out at the other end. Ben Stokes is bowling the first over of the morning session here on day 2. New Zealand 65 for 6. They are trailing England by 76 runs.
And in rugby union, despite links to a return to England and or Saracens, Andy Farrell has signed a contract extension to remain as Ireland head coach until the conclusion of the 2031 World Cup.
talkSPORT News.
A former student has been charged with attempted murder after a Surrey University staff member was hit by a crossbow, and former Prince Andrew received rental income on his properties despite not paying rent himself. Amelia's back at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit, where we've got a wider range of premium tyres than Britain has rainy days. Visit your local centre or book at quickfit.com today.
Mostly dry with sunny spells, but showers expected to develop across the southwest as they continue in Scotland and Northern Ireland.
Get ready to get the ultimate football fan winning feeling with talkSPORT Win. Because this summer, you and a mate could be jetting off to watch England versus Panama in New Jersey live at the FIFA World Cup 2026 with Adidas, including tickets, flights, accommodation and more. Go to talksport.com/win to enter now, and you could be soaking up the incredible atmosphere at the FIFA World Cup 2026. For the chance to win every football fan's trip of a lifetime, enter now at talksport.com/win.
Hello, very good morning to you, wherever you are, whatever you're doing this morning. Thank you for listening to talkSPORT. It's Sam Matterface here. I'm live in Florida, just north of Miami, West Palm Beach, not too far away from the England training camp. They'll be underway around about 10:45 this morning local time, which is around about 3:45 your time, doing their morning bits and pieces before the press conferences later on ahead of their game against New Zealand tomorrow, which is live on talkSPORT. Dean Ashton, the former England international, is back in the studio in London, and Alex Crook is there as well, as he always is on a Friday. Where is Gabby, by the way? Does anyone know? Has anyone found Gabby? Is he on holiday? Is he doing...
No,
he didn't do breakfast this morning.
I've heard a vicious rumour that because our figures are so much better than Drive, they've got them on Drive to try and pep them up this afternoon.
They're moving him all around the board, aren't they, to try and just sort of spread the Gabby love. Let's see if Crook will give any love to Ruben Amorim, because Omar Barada certainly has been.
Michael replaced Ruben Amorim. Was a point in Ruben a mistake?
I don't see it as a black or white, in the sense that yes, because it didn't work out in the end the way we expected it to do, then you can look at it in hindsight and say it wasn't the right appointment. But I actually think that Ruben deserves a lot of credit for many things. He went through a very difficult season last year. He was put under difficult circumstances, but he did help raise the standards in the dressing room. So I think he deserves a lot of credit for that, and I do think that he's going to be a successful coach, and I wish him all the best. But we did feel that we needed to make a change, and in the end it's worked out with Michael.
Yeah, it does worry me just how black and white you are about Ruben Amorim. I mean, he went from being the man that you modelled yourself on. You actually said many times that you thought that you were a sexy version of Ruben Amorim. And then all of a sudden now he's the Portuguese fella and you won't mention his name. It's a roller coaster ride of emotions with you. You're either sort of like top dog or the basement boy, aren't you? I mean, why so judgmental? Can you not appreciate some of the things that he did?
Yeah. I think he did a good job in cleansing the dressing room, got rid of the bad eggs and turned it into a more harmonious place to be. But I can't see past a manager who was so tactically wedded to one style of play that when you're playing Everton at home, who, let's be honest, aren't the most free-scoring of teams, they get a player sent off for punching or slapping his own teammate. And then rather than change your system to try and impose yourself against the 10 men, you bring on Mason Mount as a left wing back. So for all the good he did in terms of the dressing room, his refusal to adapt and to deviate away from that back three, which is difficult to implement in the Premier League. Only Chelsea under Conte have ever won the title with that system. I think is a massive blind spot on behalf of the former Manchester United manager. And I think if you look at it in terms of permanent incumbents since Sir Alex Ferguson came in, he's the only one to finish as low as 15th. He's the worst manager United have had since Fergie.
Yeah, interesting, because Oliver Glasner obviously also applied that formation, did pretty well with Crystal Palace. I'm going to need to get Dean's view on that in just a second. Well, those levels seemingly higher than Manchester United's over the last couple of years. But anyway, let's move on to the cricket, because there's been a wicket very early on the second day's play. England against New Zealand. Here's talkSPORT, Sam Ellard.
Yeah, into the second over, Sam, and New Zealand are now 7 down, 66 for 7. It's Glenn Phillips who goes for 34. It's a beauty from Josh Tongue. Perfect line and length to hit the top of off stump. It holds its line and maybe just nips away a touch from the right-handed batter, Glenn Phillips, who looked dangerous for his 34 runs. But Josh Tongue, who's probably been England's most consistent bowler over the last year or so, has his first wicket on day 2. He's got figures of 2 for 23. Smith's got 6. Jameson's got 1. New Zealand are 66 for 7 and they trail England by 74 runs.
Cheers, Sam. Thank you very much. We'll continue to bring you coverage of that throughout the course of the day here on talkSPORT. Remember, the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel, absolutely fantastic place for everything you need during the course of the cricketing summer. Dean Ashton, I don't know which lens is more cloudy, the one where Crook sees himself as a sexy Ruben Amorim, or the one where he views him as the worst manager after Sir Alex Ferguson. Where do you stand?
It worries me more Crook's comments, to be honest. He's like the Wish version of Amorim, I would say. Crook.
Oh, that is a low blow. That's a low blow.
But what I would say is, and I think Crook is right on quite a few points with Amorim, is that constant use of that system, the refusal to to change and to see some of the players and the effect he had on those players. I think Kobe Mainoo's a perfect example. Yeah. I think Casemiro, I think he sort of hung him out to dry a bit, knowing he couldn't cope in that midfield area alongside Bruno, who was drifting all over the place. I think there's certain players that all of a sudden, since he's left, and the way that the current players that were still left behind, the upturn in form, in demeanour, I think actually you can land that at Amorim in terms of how he affected the players, and that was pretty clear for me, and probably the most startling.
But you have to be realistic, don't you, Dean? You have to understand that Ruben Amorim was coming from a global viewpoint, trying to build a long-term project. He thought that he could spend the next 2 years getting this team ready for long-term sustained success. You know, obviously, as soon as he left, the idea was not for long-term sustained success. If you're Michael Carrick, you're there to make a very quick and sharp impression, which he definitely did. But it's easier to come in and make a short, sharp impression than it is to build for the very long term.
But he made no impression. I didn't even mention.
He did on Omar Barada, because obviously the sister said that he deserved a lot of credit.
Barada can't come out and say he was absolutely hopeless because they employed him. But he lost to Grimsby in the League Cup, probably United's most embarrassing defeat since they got knocked out by York in the Fergie days in the mid-90s. That Europa League final that Dean and I had to endure, they were absolutely appalling that night, Manchester United. He did well to survive that. Honestly, I'm struggling to see, apart from the fact he got rid of some of the bad eggs and he was supported by the board in that, I can't think of any positives that he brought to the party. And, you know, here we are. There's talk he might be on Fulham's list to replace Marco Silva. It's probably his level.
03717223344 810 89. If there's one subject that you always know is going to rile Alex Crook, it is the Portuguese fella. Right, if you want to get in touch, we'd love to hear from you. So much to discuss still on the show. I want to get Dean's views, actually, on West Ham United over the course of the next hour or so, and what he thinks about them bouncing back at the first attempt after relegation last campaign. Maybe with Nuno in charge now and that's all settled, the fact that they've got the favourites tag on their back, maybe they'll sort of be looking forward, maybe feeling as if that this is their opportunity to reset the club. I wonder what West Ham fans feel about that. 03717223344. Remember, we've got the pre-tournament friendlies, England against New Zealand, then Costa Rica this week, and then the World Cup starts next Thursday evening with Mexico against South Africa. All of the games from the World Cup, 104 of them live on talkSPORT. When do you two boys get coming out here, by the way? When are you on your way?
Sunday. Wednesday. Lovely. For me. I've got a wedding this weekend, haven't I? Yeah, before I fly over.
Yes, isn't it the 27th wedding of our good friend, your brother?
Something like that. Actually, Ali did make me laugh yesterday when I dropped in. It was my brother getting married for the 4th time, and he said, "Tell him you're busy. You'll come to the 5th."
Lewis is on the line. Hello, Lewis. How many times have you been married? Actually, don't answer that. What do you want to say about Manchester United?
Yeah, good morning, boys. I want to talk about the Portuguese fella. Well, Sam, I'm surprised you're sort of standing up for him. It sounds like you're trying to suggest that he did all right.
No, I'm just saying that Omar Barada said he deserved a lot of credit, so I'm asking where that comes from.
Yeah, well, he's got to say that, as Alex just said, because he employed him. You can't say, he was one of our worst managers ever, which he was in terms of stats and where we finished in the league. I mean, the guy was totally useless. We would have finished mid-table this season, right, if he hadn't have been sacked. He should have been sacked after that diabolical managerial performance he put out in that Europa League final. It was a disaster. He couldn't have got his tactics, his team selection, his in-game management more wrong for that.
He got outwitted by Ange Postecoglou.
Yeah, I know he did. He blew it, and that was to get back in the Champions League as well and to win a trophy. You look at all the results. It started off with a drab 1-1 against Ipswich, his first game, and it ended with I think it was a drab 1-1 as well.
Leeds away, wasn't it? His last game, Leeds away. It was 1-1. I think.
Lewis, why do you think it was so bad? Why do you think that a manager who'd done so well at Sporting, so well in the Portuguese league, and was so well thought of, came into Manchester United and had this long-term vision. Obviously, he said that he didn't want to come during the mid-season. He wanted to wait till pre-season and rebuild from there. Obviously, that didn't happen. He changed a lot of things very quickly. But do you think that was his undoing? Was he supported enough? What do you think the reasons were for him failing?
I think he was supported enough, but the tactics, the formation, it just didn't work. And he was so stubborn. He was always playing the same rigid format and formation. It just didn't work, it didn't adapt. I mean, the results, if you look at the results, how many points did we throw away in that first 5 months of the season under Amorim? We could have been in a title race if he'd played players in position. He had Bruno Fernandes, our best player, so deep in the midfield, ineffective there. And look what he did under Carrick. Fernandes could have had another 10 assists probably, or another half a dozen goals if he'd started the season in his best position. It was a disaster, but we managed to salvage it. And obviously, the League Cup was a disaster, losing at Grimsby, or getting knocked out by Grimsby. The guy, I'm so glad he's gone. Anyway, let's forget about Amorim now. He had his chance, he blew it. Fulham is his level probably. So good luck to him in the future, but for United, no way. But listen, next season we need to strengthen, we need to clear out some dead wood, get some 3 or 4 top players in, give Carrick the backing. I'm just hoping this isn't going to turn into another Ole Gunnar Solskjaer scenario.
I think he'll be fine, Lewis. Look, Michael Carrick's a very level-headed guy. He knows what he's doing, and he's got good people around him, very good coaching staff around him as well. And I think they've got a long-term plan. So good luck to him, and good luck to Manchester United. I was being a little bit playful, but only because it's so funny to look at Crook's face when he's talking about him, and I'm so desperate for him to utter his name. I mean, when he did it the other day, he was shocked to his core that he had let himself slip. The mask had slipped. But anyway, the good news is he's got it firmly back on. Now, lots of cricket to talk about as well. We'll do that West Ham section as well very shortly. You're listening to Sam Matterface, Dean Ashton, the former England international, and the sexy Amorim lookalike, Alex Crook, on talkSPORT with Selco Builders Warehouse. Check out this month's real deals at selcobw.com.
When you get these Arsenal fans ranting and raving and saying some of the things that they do, and then you get this nitwit over here popping up with his little brand of observation in social media.
What, Piers?
Yeah.
Little brand of 9 million followers.
Whatever, how many followers you've got, Piers.
Well, a lot more than you, Sancho.
Fantastic, but I don't judge my
work
by
a little
that.
brand.
But I don't judge myself by those numbers.
This is a little brand. My YouTube channel is 4.5 million subscribers.
I'm delighted.
I have 9 million followers on X. So when I say something to 9 million
delighted.
people, I'm saying it to a lot more millions than you.
I'm delighted.
No, but it's not a little brand. I'm not a little nitwit.
No, I'm delighted.
You may not like what I say.
I'm delighted.
But the platform I have is infinitesimally bigger than yours.
I'm delighted. You've pivoted into the digital world and hung on by your fingertips, right? But the bottom line is I'm looking at the content. I'm looking at the content, and you're asking me why.
Yes.
People are reacting negatively to what's being said. So I floated the idea without a great deal of commitment to it that silly comments that are antagonistic made by
nitwits like him with big audiences.
What silly
Is that
comment?
better?
Well, give me a silly
Well, I
comment.
don't know. I don't study your feed, but every now and again you
Well, give me one example.
You pop up with observations
Well, give
about
me one
Arsenal
that's silly.
inflammatory. I don't know. I can look through it in a second.
Exactly. You
give
can't
an
think of
example.
one. You just
No,
said it.
every now
you
and
just
again.
literally said that, and you can't tell me a single thing I've said,
every now and
which is
again.
silly.
Get ready to get the ultimate football fan winning feeling with talkSPORT Win. Because this summer, you and a mate could be jetting off to watch England versus Panama in New Jersey live at the FIFA World Cup 2026 with Adidas, including tickets, flights, accommodation and more. Go to talksport.com/win to enter now, and you could be soaking up the incredible atmosphere at the FIFA World Cup 2026. For the chance to win every football fan's trip of a lifetime, enter now at talksport.com/win.
talkSPORT, Sam Matterface, Alex Crook and Dean Ashton. England back in action for day 2 of their first test at Lord's against New Zealand. Yesterday, Ollie Robinson took 3 wickets in his first over for England in more than 2 years to breathe life into their post-Ashes rebuild on day 1 of the first test. And day 2 has started with a couple of wickets being skittled as well. Here's Sam Ellard.
Yeah, not quite 3 wickets in 1 over for Josh Tongue this morning, but he's got 2 wickets in his first 2 overs, and New Zealand now in big trouble, 82 for 8. The 8th wicket to fall, Nathan Smith for 15. Shouldering arms out a wide ball from Josh Tongue, which seemed back in. It kept low. It crashed the top of off stump, and New Zealand now at 8 down and in big trouble. Ollie Robinson has got 4 for 17. He's chasing his 5th wicket on his return to the Test team. Josh Tongue 3 for 32. It's O'Rourke and Jameson at the crease. New Zealand are 82 for 8.
Sam Allard, who will be keeping us updated throughout the course of the test match here on talkSPORT. Let's speak to Sky Sports commentator and former England international Mark Butcher, who joins us live from Lord's as well. Hi, Mark.
Very good morning to you. Quick game's a good game.
Absolutely. Talk to me a little bit about these bowling conditions. How favourable are they?
They're extremely favourable. Look, you have to have the skill to be able to find the right length, and bowlers on both sides have done that with monotonous regularity. And the issue is for the batters that not only is there lavish sideways movement off the surface, there's been a little bit of swing. There was more swing yesterday as there was more cloud cover. But whatever the length of the ball, and you've got bowlers who are letting the ball go from sort of 7.5 feet in the air, you would expect at a certain length that the ball would bounce safely and comfortably over the stumps. That's why we've seen 3 or 4 batters get their stumps knocked over without offering a shot. The ball is just staying low enough all of the time to hit the stumps. So LBW's bowls are in play, and batting is a little bit of a lottery at the moment.
It had been 829 days since Robinson had last played for England, 1,069 days since Ollie Robinson last took a wicket for his country. Why was he ignored for so long?
It had nothing to do with his ability with the ball. There were various things that happened behind the scenes that you would probably have to lay at the door of the player himself, that kind of made the England team lose all trust in him, really. And for that reason, he was out in the cold. I don't think it's ever been anything to do with whether he was a good enough bowler or not, because I think of his type, he is the best bowler in the country. And so, you know, he's obviously been able to rebuild that relationship with McCullum and Stokes in particular. And now he's back doing what he does best. And listen, if you were going to come back as a seam bowler, new ball bowler, this would be the pitch that you would order to play on every single time. It's absolutely perfect for him.
Mark, Dean Ashton, I was keeping tabs yesterday, and I was looking on social media as the sort of so-called England batting collapse was happening. And I think, are we still in a place where either the batters with the style are always going to take risks under this management and captain, or was it just a case of actually not jumping the gun, realising the pitch, and then when England bowlers came in, where are we at with the kind of style of the batting with England?
I think that the great irony is, Dean, that yesterday, if England were going to play in any style yesterday, their sort of more reckless risk-taking style might have been the more successful way to go about it yesterday. In fact, you know, I've looked over the dismissals of all of the batters from yesterday, all 16 wickets from yesterday, and there was barely an error from any of the batters in them. You know, they were all trying to play straight, trying to play in a test match style or an old school test match style, and they were just undone by excellent bowling and a pitch that was making life very difficult for them. I guess that the interesting thing will be when England come out and bat in the third innings of the test match, their second innings, as to what approach they take. They now know that there is movement, they now know that there is a ball with your name on it just around the corner. Will they take more risks in the second innings and try to push on what will hopefully be a pretty good lead, given the circumstances when they bat again?
It is a risky business, though, isn't it, buying a ticket for the final day of a test when it comes to England?
Fourth day.
Yeah. But I mean, is this going to be the norm now? Do you think other countries are going to follow suit as well? I mean, I think if you're trying to attract a new form of cricket fan, and we all know that maybe our kids don't have the attention span to sit through 4 or 5 days, is this going to help it bring younger fans to the sport, do you think?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, this is not intentional. I spoke to the chief exec and the chairman of the MCC, and they've tried new technology to try and make the pitches at Lord's play better. They've been below standard now in terms of test match cricket for quite some time. And so they tried steaming the pitch, a new technology. It's something that they use at Wimbledon once every 4 or 5 years to try and kill any infections or whatever there might be in the soil, to try and promote better grass growth and make the pitches better. So they were absolutely gutted yesterday when there was all that movement and all those wickets fell. Of course, the business model for Test match cricket and for these big grounds relies on 5 days of ticket sales, and so the last thing that they actually want is for games to be over in 2 or 3 days. So don't make the mistake of thinking that this is some sort of grand plan from England, because it couldn't be further away from the truth.
What becomes a winning lead now with the bat, given how fast this match is moving? What's the best sort of hope for England? Because if they were a little bit more timid with the bat yesterday, when they come out for the second innings here, what's the plan? Yeah, I mean, they're 50 ahead as we speak at the moment. 2 wickets left to take for New Zealand, and they want it to be as many as possible, because you're in a quite tricky position in the third innings of a test match, because they could think to themselves, well, the best thing we do is we've got 50 in the bank, let's go out there and be proactive and really aggressive. But you could very easily lose 5 or 6 wickets for not very many doing that, and then leave New Zealand with a low total to chase in the final innings of the game. So they're going to have to be very smart about what they do. I think Harry Brook played it beautifully yesterday. Yes, he got a couple of chances with drop catches, but he was incredibly watchful in defence, and anything that he felt wasn't going to hit the stumps. Balls going on to hit the stumps have been so difficult to play in this test. Anything that he felt gave him enough room to take a calculated risk, he did that. And thus he's been the highest scorer in the test match on both sides so far. So I think they're going to have to be very smart about it. And there will come a time, if they manage to push the lead up beyond 100 and they're only a couple of wickets down, then maybe you can take more risks and try and, really try to stretch the game out from there. But it'll be cagey, because the ball is still doing plenty. Sky Sports commentator, former England international, Mark Butcher, joining us live from Lords. Thank you very much for coming on the programme. And luckily enough, I'm in Florida. We're here ahead of the World Cup. It means I can listen to ball-by-ball coverage of the first test from Lords against New Zealand on the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel. And that's because we're broadcasting live ball-by-ball commentary to overseas listeners on the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel throughout the course of the summer. So if you are not in the UK, you can listen to our cricket coverage on the talkSPORT YouTube channel. Had a few text messages in for you, Crook. This one's from Martin, the Manchester United fan. He says, "This won't get read out, but here it goes." It's a surefire way to make sure that I'll read it. Crook is a bitter old man. Amorim deserves credit for changing the mentality of the dressing room. Players were getting away with murder. The stars don't always equate. We created the most chances when he was in charge. Not his fault the players couldn't hit a barn door. Rewatch the games. Carrick will be another Ole. The difference may be Steve Holland if he's not. That's from Martin, the Manchester United fan. You've got about 15 seconds to respond to that.
Well, I resent the old man comment. And in terms of this lazy narrative about Carrick being the new Ole, Ole was the longest-serving permanent manager post Sir Alex Ferguson. He finished second in the league. He was penalty kicks away from winning a European trophy. Yes, it didn't end very well, but his whole reign was not a disaster. And Michael Carrick is a different personality, a different character to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I'm fed up with hearing that argument. I already am. Do better.
Yeah, I'm actually fed up with you changing your mind every 2 seconds as well, because I've been trying to convince you that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's tenure wasn't a disaster for a number of years, and all of a sudden you've just said it. The bitter old man thing, though, that's getting screen capped and sent around every group that we're in. Also, so is this brilliant text, which says, Crook looks like Ruben Amorim and the guy from Go Compares Love Child, which is one of my favourite ones I've ever received. 03717 223344. If you want to WhatsApp us, you can text us as well. 81089. I think you look lovely, darling. This is talkSPORT.
No comment.
Absolute wet wipes. The lot of yous. Absolute wet wipes. Wow. Oh, he wore a PSG tie. Oh, he jumped around. Do you know what? If it happened again tomorrow, I would do it again tomorrow. Wow. Up the Chelsea. Here we go. There she There she is. Look at that. Wow. Look at that bad boy.
He took it too far, Dino. He took it too far. He took it too far. Up the PSG. Up the PSG. Up the Champions League. Up the Chelsea. Oh, Cundy, you legend. We absolutely love you. Everyone loves you. Sports Bar loves you. The people love you. The Arsenal fans hate you. But who cares? Who cares? You've done it for everyone. Apart from that Chelsea lot. Apart from that Arsenal lot. Eh? Up the Champions League. And Arsenal absolutely bottled it. They bottled it. And I was so glad that he done what he done. And he took it too far, but we love it. And I'm going to sit here, I'm going to eat my croissants, I'm going to eat my cheese, and I'm going to enjoy myself. And Gabby, you absolute legend. You legend, Gabby. You come in, you stepped up for the sports bar, and that's what we do.
Boxing. It's a sport that makes multi-millionaires out of the world's best fighters, but it's not as flush with cash as you'd think. We all see how much the likes of Tyson Fury or Canelo Alvarez make every fight, but that's not the case for those just starting out, or those who aren't even at that level. For example, if you've just turned pro and don't have a promoter, you have to sell your own tickets, cover the cost of the venue yourself, and pay the tax man at the end of it. You might not even break even, but if you do, you're looking at 5 to 10 grand max. A mid-tier fighter might make more like 10 to 50 grand, but you still have to give up half of that in costs. So unless you're fighting for a world title, it's tough to make money. One potential way of doing it, though, is being a journeyman. Here's former European champion talkSPORT's Spencer Oliver explaining how that could work.
They want to fight every week, and they can be going in against the prospects, so they can demand good money, and they might be demanding like 5 grand, 10 grand for a 6-rounder or something because they're going in with a prospect. He gets through that, the journeyman gets through that fight, and he can fight again next week.
I mean, even so, it's not much, and you're getting punched in the face for a job. It's only really at the top level, i.e. fighting for titles, where you're earning up to 6 figures and can afford a diamond chain or that Ferrari. So boxing isn't a sport that allows you to retire at 40 and live a life of luxury. Much like a lot of other sports and jobs in general, it takes an awful lot of luck quite early in your career to really make it worth your while.
On talkSPORT, we are here in the south of Florida, getting ready for the England warm-up friendlies ahead of the World Cup. Of course, every single game of the World Cup is live on talkSPORT, as you just heard. It's time now to catch up with the latest odds, all thanks to BetMGM.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. We're ready for the action. Are you? Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18+. GambleAware.org.
And we're joined live now by Dan Towles from BetMGM to look at today's top sporting events and discuss the latest odds. Hi, Dan.
Morning, Sam. Okay, mate?
Yeah, very good. Thank you, mate. It's the sun's just coming up here in Florida. It's just coming up to 6:37 in the morning. It's been a very early morning here, but the weather's been rubbish over the course of the last couple of days. I'm hoping to see a little bit of sunshine today, you know, top up the tan and all that. You know what that's all about, Dan. I'm surprised you're not doing it right now, to be honest.
Well, currently sat in Newcastle, Sam. It's actually bright up in Newcastle, so yeah, it hasn't been too bad. But I was in Europe earlier in the week, and it was 26 degrees, so it's very pleasant. But yeah, little bit colder where I am now.
Of course you were. England against Scotland. England and Scotland both in friendly action this weekend. What the market's saying about those games. Very difficult, I'd imagine, to sort of predict what's going to happen, bearing in mind teams will be changed, things will be moved around. And anyone who's seen some of the results involving France, Spain and the Netherlands over the last couple of days tells you that these are very unpredictable matches.
Yeah, you're 100% right. As we get closer to the World Cup, obviously the warm-ups are critical for the teams in terms of their preparation for the World Cup. England play their first of 2 warm-up games tomorrow versus New Zealand. Thomas Tuchel hasn't got the greatest record in friendlies. He's only won 1 of 4 and lost 2 of them versus Japan and, if you remember, Senegal last year, which I think was at the City Ground. We haven't played New Zealand recently. I think the last time that happened was 35 years ago. The Kiwis ranked 85th in the world, and they're a price that reflects that. England are 1-14. The draw is 7-1, and New Zealand are the outsiders at 17-1. And then Scotland getting close to their first World Cup in 28 years. They head into their last warm-up game before the tournament starts on the 13th of June against Bolivia. Steve Clark's team are coming off the back of last weekend's 4-1 win versus Curacao, and they come into this game as the short price favourites around the 1-3 mark. Bolivia, as we know, not qualified for the World Cup. They lost to Iraq in the playoffs. They are 6-1 with a draw at 7-2. But like you alluded to, Sam, for me, both fixtures obviously benefit the sides in trying to acclimatise in the preparation for the tournament starting. And there'll be much more value beyond the match outright. So I'd be sitting and waiting to see what the team selections are, etc., before looking at markets such as Bet Builders, etc.
We were laughing yesterday about acclimatisation because literally it is like being in Manchester on a random Saturday afternoon. The wind is howling, the rain's coming down. It's not that hot. I was out in trousers yesterday. I was like, it's a little bit chilly, looking for a jacket. Do you know what I mean? So the idea of sort of acclimatising to the heat and the humidity has not not really worked out as of yet. I think tomorrow it's going to be a little bit better.
That worries me a bit because I did my packing yesterday. I like to be uber prepared, but I've only packed one pair of trousers. It's shorts all the way for me. I'm making a massive error already.
You're going to Dallas first, aren't you?
Yeah.
It is with them
You'll
legs.
be fine.
Nothing wrong with these pins, by the way. Nothing wrong with these pins.
He's cowboy rather than cowboy. Right, okay, let's talk about the World Cup outright odds then. So we know who the favourites are, but who are you backing, Dan?
Yeah, there's lots of talk about European teams and whether their ability to play in the heat across the tournament. I know you've just mentioned the weather probably not being as warm as everyone expected it to be, and Crookie now having to adapt his suitcase packing. But I don't think there's any doubt that the squad depth for some of these on paper looks to be a lot better than the rest of the participants for other parts of the world. We've seen a little bit of a nibble from Brazil, they're now 8-1 from 9s. Netherlands, 18s from 20s in the last week. But I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on where you're nailing your colours to the mast for this year's tournament.
Well, I'll start. I'm not as sceptical about Brazil as Crook is. I am sceptical about Argentina. I think Spain and France are ahead of the game for everyone, but they will probably end up meeting before they reach the final because of the route that is mapped out for them. I think Portugal look at outstanding value with the squad that they've got. We've had a little bit of a competition between the two of us, Crook and I, and we both settled on the same team. But in the end, I went for Spain. Crook, do you want to reveal your pick?
Yeah, I went for France, although I do say they lost 2-1 to the Ivory Coast overnight, but, it's only a friendly. I just think they've got so much quality and attack. As you know, I'm expecting a really big tournament for Michael Elise. We know all about Mbappe, Dembele. The list is endless, really. Defensively, maybe a little bit of a concern, especially if William Saliba isn't fit. But when it comes to the tournament, that Deschamps has the ability to set up his team to be pragmatic and then those attacking players to go and win it.
I mean, I'm very strong on Portugal. I just think you look at that squad. Okay, defensively, but I think there's weaknesses in a lot of teams defensively. But I just think midfield and forward line and experience now as well in that squad. I'm quite strong on Portugal.
And let's debunk this idea that European teams can't win in the Americas. The last time the World Cup was in the Americas back in 2014, Germany won it. And that was in Brazil. And if you can win in the heat of Brazil, you can certainly win in the heat of the United States in the summer as well. I think the sports science has come on a major way in the last few years. So I think there's every chance that a European winner turns up at the end of July.
Yeah, Spain are the 9-2 favourites. There's a little bit of worries about the fitness. I think about Yamal and Nico Williams, hamstring injuries, etc. Crookie, France, I'm with you. If I had to pick one out for my win of the tournament, it would be France. I think they could have 3 teams going to this tournament, the depth that they've got. I think they've got a very good chance. Portugal, there's always going to be much discussion about Ronaldo's inclusion. I think it's his 6th appearance. He's 20-1 to win the Golden Boot. I'd be amazed if he gets anywhere near that. But I've got a little bit of an outsider for you. Big price, but I think they could go deep into the tournament. Is Ecuador. They finished 2nd in the qualifying behind Argentina. Drawn with Brazil. They've had decent results against Morocco and the Dutch in recent times. And I do think the climate's going to play a big part. Totally buy that sports science has moved on significantly. Last World Cup in the USA in 1994, European teams made up 3 of the 4 in the semi-finals, I think. But I think Uruguay could surprise a few people as we get into the deeper parts of the tournament.
Uruguay, yes, could surprise
Ecuador,
people.
sorry.
Have you changed your mind already? That was almost Crook-esque.
Ecuador. Like Crook on Amarin. Ecuador.
Ecuador.
We said that in Qatar, didn't we? And then they were dreadful.
Sorry?
Ecuador. Didn't we? A lot of people tipped them up as dark horses in Qatar, I seem to recall, and they did nothing.
Yeah, I think I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on the Ecuadorian squad. However, everything suggests that they've got a better squad coming into this tournament than before. And like I said, the results, if people are starting to lean towards your Brazils and your Netherlands, etc., and they've had decent results against them in their continent in which they're used to playing football, then I think they're a huge price at 100-1.
Well, listen, we know that Dan Towers is one of the world's most travelled man. So if he thinks Ecuador, then it's worth a little look.
He's not coming to
Epsom
this World
Derby.
Cup, though. He's not allowed.
He's not
Oh,
allowed.
there might be. You never know, Crookie. Just keep your phone open.
Oh. Is he going to
dangled it.
turn up in Dallas for our pool party?
Dressed as a cowboy.
We can see it now.
Luckily, the audience can't. Epsom Derby weekend. talkSPORT's Rupert Bell and Lizzie Kelly are going to be commentating on 3 races, the 240, the 315, and the Oaks at 4 o'clock. talkSPORT 2, there's the first 5 races and extensive coverage during Racing Live with Emmett Kennedy and Louis Stewart from 1 o'clock. What are you looking forward to most about Derby weekend?
Yeah, like you said, the Oaks at 4 p.m. today, and there's no surprise that the market is last year's winning combination, Aidan O'Brien and Ryan Moore, with Amelia Earhart, who's coming into the race off the back of a Chester Oaks win at the start of May and is the 9-4 favourite. But obviously the big race is the Derby tomorrow. Aidan O'Brien is the master. I think he's going for his 4th win in a row, and he's got 4 horses in this year's race. The favourite is Benvenuto Cellini, who's around the 2-1 mark. Won well last time. He was the 2-9 favourite that day, so he had every right to do what he did. But I like another O'Brien horse in Pierre Bernard. Beat short-headed on his last run at Leopardstown. Has a better draw than the favourite. He's in 8, and I think the favourite's in 12. So he might hold the advantage as they come around Tattenham Corner, and he could be a decent price at the 5-1 mark.
Thank you very much, Dan Towers. That was a look at the latest odds, all thanks to BetMGM. Check out betmgm.co.uk or download the app, 18+, speedgambleaware.org.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Keep things golden with responsible play at betmgm.co.uk. 18+, gambleaware.org.
After just 2 goals in 41 appearances for Chelsea, what happened to Liam Delap? A year ago, everyone was talking about the possibility of a World Cup place after he joined Chelsea. But where is he now? We'll do that next.
Perez, for his part, has promised he'll appoint Jose Mourinho as manager if he's elected.
She's done it already.
Well, that's what he wants to do, but he's got to get elected to make it official. Riquelme, meantime, for his part, is saying no to Mourinho. He's promised to make Madrid legend Raúl his sporting director and will not appoint Mourinho. He says, if I win the elections, I will bring to Real Madrid a superstar manager, the biggest manager you can imagine. Jose Mourinho is not that manager. He promised also, and this is where it gets interesting, to sign Manchester City midfielder Rodri, as well as Erling Haaland, and then held up a Madrid shirt with Haaland's name on the back of it. And one would think that Manchester City are none too happy about that. Is it arrogant in a presidential race like this?
Hello, I'm Matt Forden from talkSPORT. This is How to Win the World Cup.
This is the best squad I think England have ever had.
He used to love America, now he doesn't. It's very sad.
It was so important to succeed because of all the pressure we received.
Don't jump for this one, I'm going to knock his head off.
Warning, this podcast does not guarantee England will actually win anything.
It's talkSPORT. It's Sam Matterface, Alex Crook and Dean Ashton. A bit of breaking news. talkSPORT's Alex Crook.
Yeah, and it involves Hull, the Premier League's newest club. Of course, won promotion via that Championship playoff final against Middlesbrough. And I have it on good authority. They are to offer their manager, Sergei Yakirovich, a new contract as reward for promotion back to the Premier League. His current deal expires at the end of next season, but he's set to get a bumper new deal.
Got his game plan absolutely bob on in the Championship playoff final, which was live on talkSPORT, where Ollie McBurney got that stoppage time goal and sent them back to the Premier League for the first time in 6 years. The former Hull player, Liam Delap, has been the subject of quite a lot of discussion. A year on from everybody talking about him possibly going to the World Cup after he moved to Chelsea. His season fell apart last year, didn't it, really? Just one Premier League goal, 2 goals in 41 in all competitions, 26 games without a goal to finish the campaign. The ambition and that discussion of a World Cup place couldn't be further away from the reality of the situation he found himself in. Dean, as a former striker, how difficult has it been for Liam Delap, and what would he be thinking at this stage? Is he already thinking, I've got to move?
Possibly. It depends on how he's felt behind the scenes and how he feels about his opportunities going forward with a new manager in Xabi Alonso. I don't think he should be criticised too much. I mean, he got to Chelsea and he picked up a hamstring injury, which for a player like him and his way of playing and that strong running game that he's got would have been an issue. And getting back from that, in and out of the team, not really given a good run in the side. A team that really struggled as well is not easy. And I just think it was a step too far. That first jump shouldn't have been to a Chelsea. He was nowhere near ready for that leap. It should have been another step before possibly a Chelsea. But in this day and age and in the market, you're not going to turn that down. I think it will now be a case of what loan options maybe has he got. Ipswich obviously is somewhere that he knows.
Hull,
if the managers stay, Hull will be. I think there would be other clubs that would be.
Newcastle as well were pretty keen last summer. In fact, I know he met Eddie Howe and was quite impressed with him, but obviously ultimately decided to join Chelsea. I'd imagine they might.
Yeah, but also it's not. It shouldn't be seen as a failure if you go to Chelsea for one season, get an injury, don't really play. Okay, you go quite a few games without scoring. It's not seen as a career disaster if you now take a slight step backwards to kind of rebuild again and play.
There's a lot going on there as well at Chelsea, and we'll get to that in just a second. But where he struggled to make the breakthrough, that isn't a problem for England today. Sam Mellard.
And you come to me as England have their 10th wicket, and Ollie Robinson, after just over 2 years away from the Test team, he's back, and he's back with a 5-wicket haul. Yesterday, his first over back, he took a triple wicket maiden. He finished with 4 yesterday, and he's taken the 10th wicket. He's He's bowled Matt Henry for a duck. Ollie Robinson is back, 5 for 39. So that final wicket, he bowls Matt Henry. In the previous over, England picked up their 9th wicket. Gus Atkinson bowling a full ball outside off stump to Will O'Rourke. His eyes lit up, looked to drive through the offside, found the outside edge, caught by Harry Brook at second slip. That partnership for the 9th wicket was worth 29 runs. Cole Jamieson finishes not out on 38. He hit back-to-back sixes, pulling 2 Ollie Robinson short balls over the leg side. And Lords is on his feet. Who'd have thought this maybe a couple of months ago? Ollie Robinson leading England off. Everybody in the members area in the pavilion up on their feet. He shows Laws the ball. Ollie Robinson, 2 and a bit years away from the Test team. He's back and he's got a 5-wicket haul. So this game continues to move at a really, really quick pace. New Zealand bowled out for 113. That means that England lead by 27 runs.
Cheers, Sam. Thank you very much. Congratulations to Ollie Robinson as well. After 830 days in the Test wilderness, he is on the honours board for England at Lords. So well done to him. Dean, I wanted to pick up on a couple of things that you said there. It shouldn't be seen as a failure, you said. And I think you're absolutely right. You don't write people off just because they've made a mistake or it hasn't worked out for them at a certain club that they've made the move to. And there are a lot of mitigating circumstances at Chelsea. But let's be clear, the underperformance is statistical. It's not just vibes. One goal from an XG of 4.86 is statistically the second biggest goal-scoring underperformance in the Premier League last season. At what point is that down to confidence rather than ability?
It plays a huge part as a forward player. Without confidence, you're not much of a player as a forward, because you have to believe that you're going to score every time you go through, every time the ball comes across. You have to have that belief and confidence. You can't be snatching, you can't be guiding, hoping. You've got to be clinical, and he wasn't there yet anyway, let alone to then step up into a club that has hardly been settled. But yeah, of course he'll look at himself and go, individually, I should have scored goals. I had the opportunities, and will maybe feel like I haven't taken the opportunity that was there for him. But I just, he would look across, and I hope he does, at other, big name signings, Visser, Voltemada, Isak. Ekitike did well, but it wasn't as if he powered and smashed through the Premier League. It is not easy as a forward player in today's game. So I'm cutting him a lot of slack because I feel like I can understand the position that he's jumped from, and I didn't think he was ready.
Do you think it's sort of pointed that there is a chance that Nicholas Jackson comes back from his Bayern loan? He doesn't have that problem with Maresca anymore. He could end up coming straight back into the squad. And what would that do for Liam Delap? Does it light a fire under him, or does it actually spell the end, Crook?
Are you assuming that it was Maresca's decision that he didn't fancy Nicholas Jackson, and that wasn't guidance from above? I don't think Nicholas Jackson's got any real future at Chelsea. I think they're bringing him back to try and sell him. The buy option in the loan deal when he went to Bayern was always overpriced. I don't think Bayern ever really planned on triggering it. And if you're looking at Chelsea getting back into Champions League qualification, maybe even a challenge for the title under Xabi Alonso, Nicholas Jackson is not the answer.
Okay, thank you very much. This is talkSPORT. It's Sam Matterface, Alex Crook and Dean Ashton, and we're live with Selco Builders Warehouse. Check out this month's real deals at selcobw.com. Big weekend of boxing this weekend. We'll touch on that next.
Crookie, what about Elliot Anderson? We're led to believe that opening bid from City has been knocked back from Forest. Is it just a case of a matter of time, this one getting over the line?
I think so, and again, no surprise that City have tried to make their move early. We were told at talkSPORT a couple of weeks ago that in an ideal world, Elliot Anderson's future would be sorted before he kicked his first ball for England at the World Cup. Obviously, City are trying to get this one done. We know that Evangelos Marinakis can be a difficult negotiator. Just ask Tottenham and Morgan Gibbs-White from this time last year. But all the information I have is that City have always been Elliot Anderson's preferred choice, despite the fact there's also interest from Manchester United. This is a deal I do expect to happen. And again, it comes back to what we said at the start of the section. Real Madrid and Rodri, if they get Elliot Anderson in, could the time be right to cash in on Rodri, who clearly hasn't been the same player since returning from injury as he was before?
Crookie, I've got some breaking news. I've heard from my sources at Aston Villa that Morgan Rogers is staying. Is that correct, mate?
we shall see, Gabby. Listen, the interest from Arsenal is genuine. I'm told that there have been early discussions between Arsenal and the Morgan Rogers camp, and I think if a huge bid comes in, I'm talking 80 to 100 million pound, then Villa.
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van range, helping business owners to work better and live better. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van centre.
With the midday headlines, I'm Tom Clayton. Good afternoon. We're at the innings break at Lords, and New Zealand have been bowled out for just 113 in response to England's 140. Ollie Robinson's bowled a fiver at Lords on his England return, with the others shared out by Gus Atkinson and Josh Tongue. England will start the second innings shortly. We'll have live updates. Now, while Andoni Iraola might get some freedom from the Liverpool board, will the fans be as kind? Here's talkSPORT's chief football correspondent Alex Crook.
Yes, I think you'll get a certain amount of freedom from the fans because of the style of football. They're going to be fun to watch. You know that. It's going to be high pressing, high octane, high risk. You know, he's someone who encourages his players to take risks, and the Liverpool fans will relate to that.
Iraola signed a 2-year contract at Anfield last night. Elsewhere, all of Declan Rice, Gabriel and David Raya are up for the PFA Men's Player of the Year award. Bruno Fernandes, Ryan Cherky and Erling Haaland have also been nominated. Meanwhile, Man City's Bunny Shaw and Yui Hasegawa are among those up for the Women's Prize. Now, the dust is settling on the England squad selection as we prepare for the first pre-World Cup friendly with New Zealand tomorrow. That's live on talkSPORT. But there's still some unhappy with Thomas Tuchel's selections. The former England boss Sam Allardyce reckons Harry Maguire should be going.
Time will tell if he's made the right decision, and I think Harry Maguire would have been a big character, a lot of experience, and certainly on top form again, as he has been for Man United and England in past years.
And we understand Sergei Kirovic will be rewarded with a new contract by newly promoted Hull City. His current deal expires at the end of next season. Get more at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
A 21-year-old's been charged with attempted murder after a man was shot with a crossbow in Surrey, and the founder of the MOBA Music Awards, Kanya King, has died aged 57. Sinead has more at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. You can't trust the weather right now, but you can always trust Pirelli tyres. In stock now at your local centre. Visit quickfit.com and book today.
Mostly dry with sunny spells, some showers developing in the southwest, a few drops of rain in Scotland and Northern Ireland.
Yes, very good afternoon to you. It's Sam Matterface, Alex Crook and Dean Ashton. We're here right the way through till 1 o'clock this afternoon. I'm in Florida. I'm in West Palm Beach ahead of England's friendlies this weekend. Looking forward to them. England, New Zealand tomorrow, and then Costa Rica a little bit later. We're actually going up to Tampa later on today. That's where England are going to play at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Stadium, where apparently, Ollie, am I right? Is it a pirate ship in the background? Yeah, there's a pirate ship in the background. You'd love that, Crook. You'd be right on up the rigging, wouldn't you? Straight away. And either that or we'd make you walk the plank.
You'd be strictly below deck. You won't bang your head there, will you?
I would.
I'm okay on those ships. It's no problem for me. I remember going on the old Ark Royal, the aircraft carrier in Portsmouth when we were down there, and did it with the Leeds United team. And everyone was going on about how tough it was to go through the doors because it was all so sort of enclosed and claustrophobic. I was like, I don't know what the problem is. It's absolutely fine.
See, I was there with Status Quo once, and I hit my head in front of the captain. There you go.
Did you?
I did. I wasn't rocking all over
That's
the
why
world.
you didn't go rocking all over the world. Okay, let's talk about the boxing this weekend. Guerrilla Promotions are back with their 4th event this weekend, and it's in Colwyn Bay. Let's speak to host of the Fight Disciples podcast, fight broadcaster Nick Peet, who joins us now live. Hi, Nick.
Afternoon, boys.
Nice to see you. Could you just give us a little bit of an overview of what to expect, not only from Guerrilla, but what's going to happen this weekend? Because it's Guerrilla 4, isn't it?
It is Guerrilla 4, yeah. It's actually my first time involved, and I'm kind of excited. It is exclusive on the talkSPORT boxing app over on YouTube. But it's my first time involved in the event, and I've kind of watched from afar so far. And what they've done is they've harnessed the fact that this prize fighter style one night elimination tournament, last man standing, picks up the pot of gold. 16 men will contest it. And at the end of the night, there will be one left standing, and he will have his arm raised and be announced the victor. So I'm looking forward to it. I've been down to North Wales a few times, being from Liverpool in the past, real Colwyn Bay area. They may well live in a picture postcard environment around those parts, but I tell you what, they don't half love punching one another in the face as well, so it should be fun.
The last one did absolutely huge numbers on the talkSPORT Boxing YouTube channel. Why do you think that was? And are you expecting a similar sort of a reaction tonight?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think it's the fact is there's so much boxing on at the moment, but a lot of it's behind a paywall. But there's a lot of energy behind the sport, and that's at every level. This is obviously, a white collar style level, but you've got a lot of people tuning in to see a little bit of violence, and you're getting evenly matched fights. This is something that boxing's having to do. It's stepping up, catching up with the sport of MMA and the precedent set by the UFC. That if people are going to tune in to watch, they want to see competitive fights from start to finish, not just the main event, not just the co-main event. And I think that's why promotions like Guerrilla with this tournament format are getting so many viewers, because people know you tune in, 2 evenly matched fellas, and they're going to knock 7 bells out of each other and see who's last man standing.
Nick, just in terms of this kind of format that we have seen before, just how difficult is it for the fighters that go all the way in this kind of format with the sort of knocks-you'll take on the way?
Of course, because you start with 16. Which means you get 8 fights in the opening section. Then you have a quarterfinal, then a semi-final, and then a final. And I've spoken to a lot of fighters in the past, certainly people who won prize fighter, which you remember used to be a tournament fighter that was on TV and was done by Matchroom for a long time. You've got to kind of take into account that you need to leave something in the tank. You've got to be careful not to pick up any cuts, because that would obviously rule you out of the next stage of the tournament as well. So it's not just as simple as going in there and letting your hands go. You've got to have a little bit of fight IQ about you as well to ensure that you've got 5 separate fights in the tank, and you've got a little bit left for that final. So seeing how these guys who are, largely semi-professional, guys that have got aspirations to maybe turn pro one day, how they manage it, how their teams manage it, and ultimately who comes out with the arm raised. That's what I'm kind of fascinated by most.
Nick, what about the AJ Fury fight that seems to be getting closer to fruition? What's your view on that one?
I think, listen, it's the only fight that makes sense for both these guys, isn't it? Nobody cares about AJ fighting anybody else. I understand he's got a blow the cobwebs off fight in Saudi Arabia coming up. I think that's purely because of the tragedy that he went through at the start of the year, losing 2 of his best friends. I think that's just to find out whether he still wants to do it, what it feels like to do a fight camp without these 2 instrumental figures in the corner. So I think that's what that kind of is about. Nobody cares. They both had 2 shots of Alexander Usyk at the top of the tree. They're never going to get there again. AJ's kind of championship credentials, as incredible as they were laid to rest by Daniel Dubois. The new era is here in the heavyweight division, but that doesn't mean there isn't still a fascination with British sports fans to see who is the best? Who was the best of their generation? Was it AJ? Was it Fury? And I think now they're both at a very similar stage in their fighting lives that it's probably as competitive as it ever was.
It's interesting because I was listening to Spencer Oliver and Simon Jordan on this programme yesterday, I think it was, and Spencer was saying maybe there might be one more world title in it for AJ. Simon very vehemently disagreed with that, and from what you've said there, I think you see his days as a champion as being in the past rather than in the future.
Yeah, listen, Anthony Joshua's legacy is assured. You know, prior to Anthony Joshua winning the Olympics, boxing was in leisure centres and social clubs in the UK, and he was his gold medal at the London Games and everything that came in on the back of it and the stadiums and everything else. He's played a significant role in the rebirth in this golden age of British professional boxing right now. But nothing lasts forever. Nobody goes on forever. Father Time is undefeated. So I think AJ is done at championship level. But again, that doesn't mean 80,000 people won't cram into Wembley to see AJ versus Fury at the end of this year. And you know what? It's probably going to be a little bit competitive. It's probably going to have a bit of controversy. And no doubt there will be a second fight, maybe even a third fight off the back of it. So I've got no problems with that whatsoever. That is a gigantic fight that boxing needs to see. Equally, we're getting a press conference today on a gigantic event that Ireland's going to get when Katie Taylor will be announced for the 80,000-seat at Croke Park in Dublin for her finale as well. Those are two gigantic events that 20 years ago would have been unthinkable in this sport.
And this was amazing, actually, because we still don't know who Katie's going to fight. Maybe you can shed some light on that. But she's called the idea of a Croke Park send-off sort of the icing on the cake above even those events at the Garden or at the Excel. Who do you think she's going to come up against? And do you believe that this is the fitting farewell?
Oh, 100%. This is the one fight, the one venue that she's been pushing for an awful long time. And the Gaelic Athletic Association, which runs Croke Park, were having none of it. They just didn't want boxing there. It didn't matter who it was. They priced themselves out. Every time Eddie Hearn picked up the phone, they were basically, putting ridiculous numbers around it. It made it impossible. But I think the pressure of the Irish government, the Irish people, the relentlessness, to be fair to him, of Eddie Hearn, not refusing to take no for an answer, and the fact that this quite clearly this is not a Del Boy Chisora situation. This will be Katie's last ever walk to the ring. Not only is she the greatest boxer in Irish history, she's the greatest sportsman of this generation in Ireland as well. So they'll come out in droves for her. Over there, this is the biggest possible sporting event you could deliver this year. And I think in the end, the guard have kind of buckled on it. They've accepted the magnitude of the event, the ability and the iconic status of Katie Taylor, and they're going to deliver for it. And hopefully later today, we will find out an opponent. French girl, Flora Peely, who's undefeated, seems to be the front runner, seems to be the obvious choice. But hopefully we'll find out later today.
Yeah, we reckon the announcement's coming in around about 2:00 this afternoon. We'll keep you updated here on talkSPORT. Only a couple of hours away. You mentioned about her iconic status in Ireland. You said that she's probably the best boxer that Ireland has produced in a generation. Is she the biggest female boxer of all time?
There's certainly a strong argument for it. There's a girl over in the US called Clarissa Shields that would argue against it. There's a regular opponent of Katie's called Amanda Serrano that's done phenomenal things in the sport as well. But has anybody pushed the needle like Katie Taylor? Has anybody generated the eyeballs like she has? All the way from, 5-time amateur world champion, Olympic gold medalist, multiple-time unified champion in the professional ranks. How many young girls around the world have stepped onto playgrounds, walked into boxing gyms and said, look at me, I'm Katie Taylor? I would say more than any other female fighter that's ever stepped inside the ring. So there is a strong argument, absolutely, that she is the most influential and the greatest female fighter of all time. And Ireland know it. And that's why 80,000 tickets at Croke Park, it's not enough. Honestly, I don't think it'll be enough. It will sell out really quickly.
And obviously, big change at your club, Liverpool. Nick, obviously, first of all, thoughts on Slot, but also the new man, Iraola, and him coming in?
Yeah, listen, I'm a Cop season ticket holder. I have been since I swapped the Cop for the press box over 15 years ago. it was time for change. You know, I know a lot of people, a lot of pundits on talkSPORT have kind of questioned it, but having watched Liverpool religiously over the last 2 years, especially when Slot came in, of course, everything was perfect until we won the title, and then the kind of down tools, and then they just never picked the tools up again this season. There's obviously been issues there, and those issues have been highlighted even more because of the performances on the pitch haven't matched it. Arnie was ultimately became his own worst enemy with his team selections and the lack of morale within the group, and I think it kind of run its course. My only issue is that we never got this announcement that he was leaving prior to the last game of the season, because I think he'd have got a lovely send-off and a rousing reception. Thank you, Arnie. Thanks for everything you've done, bringing number 20, but you're just not for us, and maybe we're not for you. In terms of Areola coming in, you know, I think that was for what the club wants, for what Edwards and Hughes want, and that is a first-team coach, not a manager. Then that would have ruled out Alonso and certainly ruled out pipe dreams like Enrique anyway. I think Areola's at the very near top of every Liverpool fan's list. The football he's been playing has been nothing short of super exciting with the resources that he's got. And I think the time is right for him now to bring a little bit of that Basque Country fire and energy. And that's what Slot lacked, really. He just didn't connect with the fan base because the passion wasn't there. He was a different type of individual. And not everybody's going to be Jurgen Klopp. I understand that. But Rafa Benitez wasn't Jurgen Klopp. But he had a passion for the city, a passion for the club. He was diligent and he made the players work. And I think Areola is going to bring a similar kind of momentum to the job.
Cheers, Nick. Thank you very much. Nick, part of the coverage tomorrow from 4:30 on the talkSPORT YouTube channel. Gorilla 4, the promotion that will bring us some rather interesting matchups. 4:30 tomorrow, the talkSPORT Boxing YouTube channel. Currently on the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel, overseas listeners can listen to full coverage, ball-by-ball coverage of England against New Zealand. Updates come here from Sam Ellard, who's got details of what's been happening with the England response.
Yeah, day 2 started, Sam. New Zealand 61 for 6, trailing by 79. England picked up the first 4 wickets, or the last 4 wickets of the New Zealand innings in fairly good time, bowled them out for 113, so they had then a lead of 27 after 1 innings each. The final wicket to fall was for Ollie Robinson, so on his return he picked up a 5-wicket haul. We've just had the first England runs in the 3rd innings of the match. A Ben Duckett cut off a short and wide ball by Kyle Jamieson. Emilio Gay on Test debut only made 8 in his first innings. He faced a nervy first over to Nathan Smith. He edged his first 2 balls that fell short of slips, and there was a booming drive and he was beaten on the outside edge. So 2.5 overs gone. It's been a watchful England start. Just 4 runs coming off the bat of Ben Duckett, and Cole Jamieson and Nathan Smith opening the bowling for New Zealand have been bang on the money early on. They beaten the outside edge of both of England's left-handed opening batters numerous times. 3 overs gone then in the 3rd innings. England are 4 without a loss. That's for the lead of 31 runs.
Despite a win rate of just 27%, Nuno Espirito Santo is staying at West Ham United. They could have got rid of him without paying any compensation, but he is going to try and lead them back to the promised land. Dean Ashton gives us his view on West Ham United next on talkSPORT. With Selco Builders Warehouse, it's where the trade go.
Let's talk about the World Cup then in a bit more detail. England, of course, touched down in America ahead of the competition. Let me get your views on the squad. Lots of players that a lot of people should have been in it weren't. Cole Palmer, Phil Foden, Gibbs White, Adam Wharton, Trent, of course, Harry Maguire being another one. What have you made of the squad and the players that aren't going?
All of them players are the real technicians. Adam Wharton, Foden, Cole Palmer, Trent. And Trent. So my opinion personally is the majority of them players should have gone, because I think that holding the ball in a World Cup is the most crucial thing, and being that team. But Thomas has gone the other way. Thomas, you can see he's picked by the team he's picked. It's going to be a sort of low to mid block, and he's going to look for counter-attacking football, right? So personally, I would have done it differently, but I like the fact that he's picked the type of players for his style of football that he thinks going to do it. And like, we're still a week gone from the squad, and we're still talking about the players not there. Almost like, listen, nobody would have picked now 26 players that Thomas would have picked. So we'd all have a disagreement somewhere. It's done now. That it's history. Like, this is the way we're going, and I like the fact he's strong enough to go, I want these players.
Get ready to get the ultimate football fan winning feeling with talkSPORT Win. Because this summer, you and a mate could be jetting off to watch England versus Panama in New Jersey live at the FIFA World Cup 2026 with Adidas, including tickets, flights, accommodation and more.
Go to talksport.com/win to enter now, and you could be soaking up the incredible atmosphere at the FIFA World Cup 2026. For the chance to win every football fan's trip of a lifetime, enter now at talksport.com/win. Get ready to get the ultimate football fan winning feeling with talkSPORT Win.
Yes, the FIFA World Cup kicks off next Thursday, and talkSPORT are sending you and a mate straight to New York to see England live with Adidas, the tournament's official match ball supplier. We're taking a trip to England versus Panama, return flights, hotel, match tickets, spending money, all taken care of. Plus, Adidas is throwing in the official Try-Onder match ball and a fresh pair of boots as well. Ready to get that winning feeling? This is how you enter. For your chance to win, head to talksportwin.com or text WIN to 83338. Texts and online entries cost £2.50 plus your standard network rate, or you can call 0343 418 7260. Entries must be in by 4 p.m. on June the 12th. That's when you'll need to answer your phone if it rings. 18 plus UK residents only. It's a talkSPORT promotion. Full T's and C's are available at talksportwin.com. So for your chance to win, to come to England versus Panama in the huge MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, then text the word WIN to 83338 now. Okay, let's turn our attention to West Ham United. Dean Ashton, the former West Ham United striker, is with us. Let's start off by hearing from Nuno Espirito Santo, because when Crook and I were in the studio a couple of weeks ago, all of the rumours were that his tenure was going to come to an abrupt end after relegation. He said that was never the case.
Of course, there was a lot of noise, a lot of questions, but it was important the timing, the understand the time of decision. After relegation, for all of us was tough, was sad, and it was a moment to feel and to understand, but there was no ever doubts on myself and the board that this is something that we want to continue, and I'm really pleased I'm thankful for the confidence, and now it's time to work.
That's Nuno Espirito Santo talking to West Ham United and their official channels. Are the club that bounce back fastest usually the one that doesn't panic, Dean? Nuno staying for an extra year, despite the fact that West Ham could have got rid of him with no compensation. So are they going for stability over a clean slate? Did they like what they saw in the second half of the season?
I think they must have, and I think it is the right call. I'm pleased that he's staying because I think he's a more than capable manager, certainly in that division. I think he's proved himself to be at times, and I feel like he needs somewhere settled. He went out to Saudi. He obviously had a short stint at Tottenham, and hopefully he's realised what the type of football club that he's at, and how much the supporters will love him if he can, get them promoted again. And I think you only have to look at Ipswich and Kieran McKenna and didn't have a great start to the Championship season, but stability, not panicking like you've talked about. Recruitment's going to be, so important for them. But this feels like such a great opportunity for the club to try and reconnect with the supporters, because that's been lost. It just has. I know they gave them one of the greatest nights ever in Prague, and of course the supporters are thankful for that. But there's been a big disconnect for a while now since moving to that stadium. So I hope they can use it with a good summer window, ins and outs, to galvanise the club again on a promotion push and connect the club with the supporters once again. Otherwise, they could easily fall into a downward spiral because of it, because the support of that club is so vitally important to how that stadium feels, how the players on the pitch feel. The manager has got to do that as well. He's got to show his passion. He's very calm and composed. West Ham need a little bit more passion from him, and I think hopefully staying and showing that he could really connect with them. But a club like West Ham, it's not good enough to be in the Championship. It's simply not, with the support that they've got, and being a London club, simply not good enough. So can they make something good out of a really bad situation? But who are they going to lose? Who's gonna go? Could you persuade Jared Bowen to go, do you know what? You haven't gone to the World Cup. Another World Cup's another four years away, for example, European Championship, of course. But do you convince him to go, actually, having a legacy at a football club like a Mark Noble, for example, that could be you. You've scored the winner in a European final, get us promoted again, cement that legacy. That's what you've got to try and persuade him, and maybe give him a load more money.
I wonder if he might have a conversation with James Ward-Prowse, who obviously left Southampton, was captain when they went down from the Premier League to the Championship, and his career's stalled, isn't he? He went to West Ham, wasn't a first team regular, booted out the door pretty much as soon as Nuno came in. So maybe the grass isn't always green. And we were debating in the immediate aftermath of relegation, how much realistically can West Ham ask for Jarrod Bowen? We know they've overpriced Mateus Fernandes at £80 million, but he's 29 years of age, Jarrod Bowen. It's not really that sweet spot if you're a big club looking for signings in 2026.
No, but in terms of what he's produced, the output he's had over the last 3 or 4 seasons.
Held off at the end of the season, though, really needed
over the last few, he's been right up there with the best in the division.
So how much do you think he's worth, realistically?
Well, again, age and contract comes into play.
He's got a huge contract. He's got loads of time on his contract. So the fact is that I think someone buying him out would be very expensive for them to do, and therefore maybe not going to happen, because it sort of puts off suitors. Because West Ham have not essentially got him by the short and curlies, but they can keep him from as long as they want. They can demand a high price for him.
But take away, look, if you're looking at age and the business model that clubs want and financially making it work, but I'm buying Jarrod Bowen over Elliot Anderson any day of the week in terms of what he will give you in your in a Premier League team, what he will offer you in terms of output. But because of the age and his position, that we won't talk about that. It'll be 40 million probably. Would be a figure I would expect.
But that's a big comparison. I mean, Elliot Anderson has gone from being part of a Nottingham Forest team that got into Europe, won the ball back in the Premier League last season more than any other player in the Premier League. In fact, he won the ball back in the Premier League last season 96 more times than any other player. Manchester City put a premium on him. Clearly, everybody thinks he's worth over £100 million. You're comparing the impact that he would have on a team to Jared Bowen. That's a big comparison. Where's the evidence for that?
Evidence in terms of the output. Yeah, okay, he wins the ball back. He's terrific on the ball. He can dictate a tempo, Elliot Hans, gets around the pitch brilliantly. But the hardest thing in football is to create and score goals, and Jared Bowen does it consistently, and he's ready-made right now. You don't know if Elliot Anderson's gonna step forwards into that pressurised situation yet.
Interesting. Okay, 0371 722 3344. West Ham United sticking with Nuno Espirito Santo. If you want to react to that, you can do. We'll look ahead to England's friendlies and what's happening here in Miami. The Telegraph football reporter Mike McGrath is going to join us here in Florida in the next few minutes. This is talkSPORT.
Big John Fisher's never far away from our phone screens with countless laughs. Absolutely hilarious, some of the stuff in Chinese orders. But now he's even broken a record.
Go.
Egg fried rice, chicken fried rice, pork fried rice, special fried rice, Singapore fried rice, Singapore rice noodle, plain chow mein, chicken chow mein, pork chow mein, beef chow mein, chicken balls, prawn balls, pork balls, sweet and sour chicken, sweet and sour pork Hong Kong style, sweet and sour prawn, beef in black bean, chicken in black bean, pork in black bean, roast duck Chinese style, roast pork Chinese style, chicken Chinese style, crispy aromatic duck, seaweed, sesame prawn on toast, spicy pork, mixed hors d'oeuvres, chicken and sweet corn soup, chicken noodle soup, hot and sour soup, prawn crackers, chips, salt and chili chips, salt and chili chicken balls, salt and chili pork.
Wow. 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 In your attempt today, you achieved 40 menu items in 30 seconds.
It's a solid record. You talk about my life being surreal. This has been one of the most surreal moments and one of the best moments. It's been an absolutely wonderful afternoon.
Where was the chicken poppadoms, Ali? I missed that.
Sport is often filled with people trying to make a quick buck, often at fans' expenses. But sometimes someone on the fringes comes up with an exhibition idea that goes down a storm. Let me tell you about a couple of them. Mallorca 2007. Rafa Nadal and Roger Federer compete in what was dubbed the Battle of the Surfaces, a unique idea that reportedly almost got cancelled at the last minute when worms got into the grass. An 11th hour turf delivery got the match on, and despite some dodgy bounces on the new green stuff, Rafa and Roger slugged out a 3-set epic. Tennis has a history of exhibitions too, with the Battle of the Sexes in 1973 captivating audiences worldwide as Billie Jean King took on the former world #1 men's player Bobby Riggs, who talked down the women's game. Billie Jean King won. In motorsport, there was Monzanapolis in the 50s when American Indy cars went up against European F1 cars. But perhaps the best exhibitions have been the charity ones. In 1998, legends like Mike Atherton, Sachin Tendulkar and Glenn McGrath turned out at Lord's for a one-dayer in memory of Princess Diana. And since 2006, we've had Soccer Aid, which has raised an incredible amount of money. And if you get to see the likes of Jose Mourinho taking out Ollie Mers, then what's not to like?
Inside Series on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Watch the latest Inside Series episode live on talkSPORT's YouTube channel now. 18+, gambleaware.org.
Yes, this week on Inside England, Ollie Klink, Rory Jennings and Flex are discussing their picks for who would be England's first 5 penalty takers in a shootout at the World Cup. And Flex has got, let's say, a left field suggestion.
I'm going Reece James.
Are you?
I'm going Reece James, and my fifth one's Rice as well.
Are you basing James? Off the top of my head, I haven't really considered him, to be totally honest with you. But have you got a moment in your head where you can think of him delivering like this?
Do you know what it is? I just think he's a good striker with the ball.
Mate,
I could back him in the calm moments. I don't think he gets too high or too low. He keeps calm. He keeps measured, and he's a high level technician. I would back some. You know, like these dark horses where you think, oh, I'm not sure.
Mate,
Reece James to me.
But that's so road.
If it goes
I can't believe
How's that road?
If it goes 6, 7, 8, and you have to start thinking outside of the box, Reece James would be quite high on the list of the players that I don't want to take.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I really like Rory's 5. I'll come on to mine in just a moment. I think yours starts amazingly and then just completely runs out of steam.
Yeah. Well, I got Rice in there as well.
Reece James and Declan Rice.
I got Rice, yeah.
No, Rice
again, big player.
Score one in the
big player. I just think you want the players with a big character who are ready to do it.
Gordon, Saka, Rashford are all ahead of Reece James in my head.
Interesting. It was described as a left field shout for Flex there, but I don't think it's as left field as Rory's shirt. To be completely honest, the whole episode of that particular podcast is worth checking out just for that. It's an outstanding shirt. Reece James, by the way, only really taken one official penalty in club football. That was for Wigan Athletic against Norwich City in the Championship during 2018-19. However, he does boast an absolutely stellar track record in penalty shootouts. Aston Villa 2021 scored the winning penalty in the EFL Cup third round shootout. Southampton 2021 scored the deciding penalty in the 4th round of that competition, and in the same year converted in the Super Cup against Villarreal. So it's not as left field as maybe people were making out. Don't forget, you can watch all the episodes from the Inside series on the talkSPORT YouTube channel. It's all thanks to BetMGM 18+, speedgambleaware.org.
Inside Series on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Watch the latest Inside Series episode live on talkSPORT's YouTube channel now. 18+, gambleaware.org.
This is Sam Matterface live in Florida ahead of England's 2 big friendly games with New Zealand and Costa Rica. It's just coming up to around about 20 to 8 in the morning here. 20 to 1 back with you in the UK. Dean Ashton and Alex Crook are back in the studio in London. I'm delighted to say that the Telegraph football reporter Mike McGrath is here alongside me in Florida this morning. Good morning.
Morning, Sam.
Thank you very much for coming in on the programme. You're covering your 3rd World Cup. You're looking forward to it?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be very different. I mean, very different. Well, Russia was the first for me, and incredible with Gareth Southgate kind of exceeding all expectations, and it's just grown and grown, and now they're kind of expecting to win it. And you have those great. I love that clip with Flex there. And the penalties, and now we're talking about when we're going to win a penalty shootout and stuff like that. My little left field one would be Jordan Pickford.
Yeah,
just give it Kevin Pressman.
Did he score in the Nations League?
Yes, I think
semi-final was it, or third, fourth place?
Yeah, about in Portugal, I think it was, and he can take one. So I love it. The expectation is going to grow a little bit more and more as we get going with the friendlies, and those kind of topics are just going to dominate this summer.
I read a fascinating report that you wrote yesterday in the Telegraph about this idea that Thomas Tuchel has approached a fourth division side, Miami United, to come round to the training ground for a cup of tea and a bit of set piece practice. Just tell us what that's all about.
So I think they've had the approach, Miami United. They're the oldest team in Miami, they call themselves, and I think it's a bit of a different type of training for England. I think in America they call it a scrimmage, where it's kind of like a bounce game, I suppose, where you're it's not an official game, it's not 11v11, but they can still do things which are really valuable to the preparation, which they might not be able to do when they're just playing the 26 players playing against each other, because just having opposition, a different opposition that doesn't know what the set piece are, doesn't know the runs of what Marcus Rashford or Jude Bellingham are doing, and just having that unexpected kind of opposition, that unexpected kind of degree to it, I think is going to be really valuable, and hopefully they'll get something out of it, and obviously hopefully no injuries or anything.
Tell us also that they're prioritising set pieces in a massive way going into this World Cup.
Well, I think Thomas Tuchel he's kind of made no mistake and no secret of it that he's looking at what's going on in the Premier League, the pace of the Premier League, and how he wants to play. And he said that he said himself, it's going to be really important. Corners are going to be really important. Throw-in's going to be really important. Free kick's going to be really important. You could even say with the way that Jordan Pickford kind of pings the ball around, that it could be from goal kicks. All of these set pieces are going to count, especially in a really, really hot tournament where the pace might go down, and these set pieces could really kind of be the decisive moments of the tournament.
Yeah, well, let's hope the heat does actually increase, because it's been pretty shoddy, the weather here.
No one's feeling sorry for you, boys. No one's feeling sorry for you.
Crook, did you want to ask about Alex Scott?
We'll come on to that, but I was going to ask Mike, I've also seen a suggestion, Sam, this is something that you spoke about on a podcast we recorded earlier this week, that maybe Harry Kane might be used quite sparingly earlier in the tournament to keep him fully fit and sharp for the knockout rounds. And actually, we might see quite a bit of Ollie Watkins and Ivan Toney in the league phase. Is that your understanding as well?
Well, I think obviously it was at the time, it was a shock call up for Ivan Toney, who hadn't been in the squad for a year since that Senegal game where he got 2 minutes plus stoppage time, and that was it. But why has he taken Ivan Toney? I think Ivan Toney is the closest thing that he has to a kind of Harry Kane shaped type player, and what he does with it. There is obviously the plan when they're chasing a game, but I also do think that he's like the first option to come on during matches, and I think it will be really important. They have thought about Harry Kane's workload, which has been extensive, no injuries this season. He will need a break and to peak at the right time.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because England without Harry Kane seemingly always now struggle. If you go back to the March internationals, they look toothless in comparison. They need to find another solution for that. Maybe Ivan Toney is that person. Mike McGrath from the Telegraph is alongside us here in Miami. Dean Ashton, the former England striker, and Alex Crook back in London. And Dean Ashton, as a striker yourself, the idea of making sure that you utilise all of those resources, that'd be a welcome bit of news to them, because so often the third striker, the second striker get very few minutes.
Yeah, and rightly so, because of Kane's ability and experience. So he is obviously going to be that starter. But I think we sometimes are quite quick to dismiss the other strikers as if Ollie Watkins isn't a decent player, and Ivan Toney hasn't shown that he can do it at the highest level. I think we've got to try and get away from this. Well, if there's no Kane, it means we've not got a chance. I think that's been so unfair on those two players who have to consistently, get a little bit of football with England now and again, because Kane never wants to miss a game either. So
yeah, but then if that's the case, then why didn't he call up Ollie Watkins during the March Internationals, and why hasn't he used Ivan Toney before?
Well, I think there's quite a few interesting moves that he's made, Thomas Tuchel, in the year 18 months leading up to this tournament, and that's one of those. He's clearly got an idea in his head, though, of exactly what he wants from the squad, the characters within the squad, a long tournament, an extra game. I'd be amazed if he hasn't got a plan in his mind, and he has had for a while, which is why he's chosen these players. But just to dismiss our other forwards as if Harry Kane's missing, we've not got a chance, I think is a bit naive and a very negative outlook to give those players.
I think it comes about probably because of what happened in the March Internationals, where England really struggled in front of goal, especially in that game against Japan. Alex Scott is in line to make his debut. That's the suggestion in these two friendlies. He's not even in the squad. So why would they do that?
I think reading the squad, I think he would be considered the next cab off the rank if there were to be. Obviously, we don't want that to happen, but if there were to be an injury, I think he would be the next in line. He is just in exceptional form. Whenever I've watched him for Bournemouth, he is one of the best players on the pitch, and I think he will eventually get more chance. He'll go to major tournaments in the future, but I think Tuchel, if it's not tomorrow, then there's obviously Costa Rica next week where he can have a look at him, he'll be in the squad. We spoke to him the other day. He said, he's not booking any holidays anywhere. Yeah. So, but he's also fully aware that he'll probably, the chances are he'll be back at home watching it at a barbecue.
Interestingly, it depends how long that barbecue can go on, because with the threats of thunderstorms and temperatures up to 40 degrees over the course of this summer, there's been lots of talk about delays in matches. I mean, even sort of like today, we're thinking about tomorrow's match in Tampa. And I think one of the things we've been doing more than maybe we'd normally do is constantly checking the stormcast to see whether or not there's going to be a storm in that area. Because we got the protocols this week about what's going to happen if there is lightning in the area, which means that the game will be delayed for a very long time. Are we going to have the most... I mean, the American fans are all used to this, right? It's just like par for the course for them. They're like, it's not a problem. But for everybody else, it's a little bit new, isn't it?
It's
and
new.
For the players as well.
It's new for the players. And I think, I'm not sure, Alex and Tina probably will know this, but I'm not sure how much people at home are actually talking about this and what kind of impact this could have on viewing for the fans, because it could be hours of delay, hours extra in the pub if they're watching it, and it's a very, we know it's a real threat from last season when Chelsea were there and there was a 4-hour game against Benfica, and once the lightning strikes within that radius, people have to head back in. We had it the other day when we were at the Palm Beach pickleball centre for the training. It wasn't during the training session, which was sweltering, but afterwards there was lightning came. We were all working at the tennis centre, and all the pickleball players had to come in, and that's it. They're used to it out here, that they all come back in. There's no sport when there's lightning.
Interesting. Listen, don't worry. Crook doesn't mind if there's extra time in the pub. He's absolutely delighted by that prospect. That is for sure. Mike, thank you very much. You're off to training a little bit later on, and we're off to the press conference, aren't we? Then we got
then Tampa.
huge drive up to Tampa, which we're looking forward to in rush hour traffic a little bit later on. And then we've got the game tomorrow. It's live on talkSPORT, by the way. England against New Zealand kicks off 4 o'clock here at 9 o'clock your time. Right, okay. When we come back in the next few minutes, we might do a little bit more on England, but we'll also get an update from the cricket and talk about Robbie Keane, whose time in Israel and then his time in Hungary has come to an end. But what influence has that got on his next destination? We'll do that next.
To be considered a big club, like the likes of Man City, Man United, Liverpool, Chelsea.
What, Man City's bigger than Arsenal?
Well, in Europe they are. They've won the competition.
Cool, they won the... But what are we saying? Are we talking about trophies or are we talking about...
I'm talking about dining at the top table with all the big heads that have won it. Do you think you need...
What, so we're only basing this on Europe? So if you win the European Cup, that means you're a big club?
In Europe.
Well, are we not going off all the trophies that we've won?
We haven't won that many.
We've won
Arsenal? Are you joking?
Well, okay, take FA Cups out of it.
No, forget FA Cups. Leagues.
You can
What about
include
leagues?
it.
We've won
include
more
it in
Premier
FA Cup.
Leagues than Liverpool.
I know, but I'm just saying, my question is, do you think you need to win Europe's
we don't-
biggest competition to be considered a big club?
No, because I think we are one of the biggest clubs in the world anyway. And that'll just be a cherry on top.
I don't think you're in
Come
the
on,
top 10.
You
What?
idiots.
Are you talking about your local pub or are you talking about the world?
You're certainly not in the top 5.
In the world?
Yeah.
No, look.
Okay, hold on. I'll ask you questions.
I would agree with that.
Honestly.
I would agree with that.
There you go.
Top 5
There
in
you
the
go.
world.
Real Madrid, Barca, Bayern,
Man United.
Liverpool.
See this Real Madrid stuff. They're not the draw they used to be, bro. I'll be honest with you. Around the world,
They're bigger
bro.
than Arsenal.
In Spain, maybe.
No.
I would have to say, yeah,
There
fine.
you go. He agrees with me.
Okay, listen. They're more. They've been.
Do you agree with me?
They've been more successful.
Do you
than
agree
us.
with me?
They've
You're not
been
in
more
the-
successful than us.
And that means
in
they're
terms
bigger.
of popularity or bigger club right now in the world.
Yeah.
In the world.
Hello, I'm Matt Forden from talkSPORT. This is How to Win the World Cup.
This is the best squad I think England have ever had.
He used to love America, now he doesn't. It's very sad.
It was so important to succeed because of all the pressure we received.
Don't jump for this one, I'm going to knock his head off.
Warning, this podcast does not guarantee England will actually win anything.
It's talkSPORT. It's Sam Matterface, Alex Crook, and Dean Ashton. We'll get Dean's predictions on the friendlies in just a second. I did just, sort of doing the research this week, notice that Crystal Palace have got more players at this summer's World Cup than Real Madrid, AC Milan, and Liverpool. What does that tell us about the strength of the Premier League? Is it the financial might of the division, or a testament to the scouting abilities of those mid-tier clubs? What are you saying, Crook? Where do you come down?
I think both. You know, you need to give the likes of Bournemouth and Brighton and Brentford credit for their data-led scouting, but it's the richest league in the world, so you have the ability to basically sign whoever you want. So it's not a surprise to me that the World Cup is going to be dominated by Premier League-based players. We saw it, didn't we, in the European competitions? 1-2, got to the final of the other, and I kind of feel like that's going to be the norm in the upcoming few years.
12 players for Crystal Palace, which is amongst the very highest in the world. If you look at Manchester City, 19, Bayern Munich, 18, Paris Saint-Germain and Arsenal, both 16, and Barcelona, 15. They're the only clubs that have more players at the World Cup squad than Crystal Palace. So I'm sure Steve Parish is very happy about that. Dean Ashton, tomorrow sees England take on New Zealand. What are you expecting from that game? Because as we've already mentioned, you know, the results that France, Spain and the Netherlands have picked up this week have sort of shown that it can be quite unpredictable.
Yeah, I'll be taking zero notice in the result. I will, however, you know, you want to take a key interest on who he's giving the minutes to, who's being protected. Are there any kind of shocks in terms of the minutes played? But it's more just an acclimatisation as a player. Of course, every England game and appearance should be taken very seriously. But this is preparation. This is about, as a player, getting into the right position physically and mentally, and acclimatising to the climate, ready for the tournament.
England should get more runs than New Zealand, though, shouldn't they?
It's very good, Crook. That almost sounded like you were actually interested in the cricket there for a second. Dino, what's your first game?
Sorry?
What's your first game when you arrive? Because you're West Coast, aren't you?
I am, yes. It is USA's opening fixture in LA. So be interesting to see who's there. That's for sure. And I think it's Paraguay that they take on. But I'm just looking again. You know, it's a privilege to be going out there. And once the tournament starts, for me, the World Cups have always had that, I don't know, childlike appeal to me. I want to watch. I want to watch and listen to every possible game, because what the World Cup does is it gives players a chance to do something that gets remembered forever, that people in that country will remember forever. It's so unique, I think, in the way that players think compared to their club sides. And again, like I said, I become a child again, because, you know, Italia 90 was what got me into football.
It's a lot about the kids, isn't it? Exactly that. 1990 got you into football. 86 got me into football. The World Cups are the things that gets the fans of the future completely and utterly invested in the sport. And I hope that happens to another whole new generation this time around. There's wall-to-wall content that's available, a load of it on the talkSPORT website, a load of it on the talkSPORT app. Of course, we've got 104 games live for you on the radio as well. We'll be bringing you absolutely everything from the United States of America, and we cannot wait to do so as well. Crookmeister, I will see you when you arrive, and I'll meet you up in Dallas in a couple of weeks' time. Thank you very much for listening this morning. Remember, the games that are available this weekend, check them out on the talkSPORT website, and H&J are coming up in the next few minutes. Take care.